that's supported with multimedia, laboratories, libraries, as well as reliable human resources to produce graduates who are both competent and professional in their field. Universitas Slamet Riyadi promotes professional research activities to contribute to the development of science and technology, which is useful both for environment and humanity. The university is also committed to provide students with facilities to empower them in facing the very competitive global workplace. A complete variety of academic references are provided in order to complete them with the most up-to-date resources.
Maaf, itu aja. Aman yang ini, karena besar yang ini aja. Iya. Oh, bisa tidak.
In order to contribute to the region and nation, Universitas Slamet Riyadi provides 6 faculties and postgraduate program. Faculty of Law with the Science of Law, Faculty of Economy with Management and Accounting, Faculty of Political and Social Science with Public Administration, Communication and International Relation, Faculty of Education with Pancasila and Civic Education, Counseling Education, English Language Education, Early Childhood Education, Elementary Teacher Education, and Informatics Education. Faculty of Agriculture with Agrotechnology, Faculty of Food Technology and Industry with Technology of Agricultural Product, Postgraduate Program with Magister of Science of Law, Magister of Management, and Magister of Public Administration. In our campus, students are loaded with not only hard skills, but also soft skill and leadership, which are giving them the opportunity to improve their own intellectual and personal capacity. Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been collaborating with universities in Thailand, Malaysia, the Philippines, Japan, the Embassy of Netherlands to encourage development in the area of teaching, research, and publication. At Universitas Slamet Riyadi, we believe that the real achievement is giving to the devotion of the societies.
I am proud to be one of the alumni. The university offered me with knowledge and skill to contribute to my career.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been providing the region and the nation with its qualified alumni.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi provides students with various choices of extracurricular activities, which are giving them opportunities to develop talents and passion, to build relationship, improve leadership and organization skills. Universitas Slamet Riyadi is a place where individuals are prepared for achieving skill and capacities, improving leadership, and creating global opportunities. A place where knowledge, science, and technology are devoted for nation and humanity.
His Excellency Ambassador Kristiarto Legowo, the Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia to the Commonwealth of Australia, distinguished speakers, Director of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, members of Slamet Riyadi Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, I'm Angie Anchika. It's my pleasure to warmly welcome you to the third International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Science organized by Universitas Slamet Riyadi. This yearly conference is a part of Universitas Slamet Riyadi contribution to the development and dissemination of science and knowledge. In this event, we invite academic experts and experienced practitioners to meet and share their knowledge and experience to improve our cooperation in this dynamic global world. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our conference, I would like to invite you for a moment of silence. We hope that our conference will run smoothly until the end. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our moment of silence. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I would like to invite you all to attend the opening ceremony of the third International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Science. First, I invite the honorable speaker, judges, and attendees to listen to Indonesian national anthem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Next will be the welcoming remark from the head of committee, Dr. Anda Kristi Damayanti, MSI. To Ibu Kristi, the floor is yours.
His Excellency Ambassador Kristiarto Legowo, the Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia, Commonwealth of Australia, as keynote speaker. Distinguished speakers, board members and faculty members of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, board members of Slamet Riyadi Foundation, students, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests. It is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you to the third International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Sciences. This year and this edition has given us the opportunity to interact in a completely different way. This unprecedented challenge of COVID-19 pandemic has been forcing us to adapt to new ways of learning, networking, and participating in events, including this event that we organize virtually on Zoom. Thus, besides its various challenges and limitations, I'm pleased that the third ICTS can be brought public in Indonesia and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to convey several important information and updates about this event. We are graced by the presence of I'd like to convey several important information and updates. In this event, we are graced by the presence of 5 distinguished speakers from 5 different countries. These are Professor Takuya Sugahara from Japan, Professor Burhanuddin from Malaysia, Professor Chin Min Lin from Taiwan, Dr. Amihan from Philippines, and as our one and only Dr. Sri Handayani from Indonesia. From our 7 initial speakers, unfortunately, some of them have to be absent today due to some unfortunate reasons. Dr. Tara Singbam has withdrawn just yesterday, and Professor Joseph from Hungary is now resting for recovery. With that, let us pray for his speedy recovery. And this year, our committee has successfully gathered over 200 international and domestic participants, and 100 of them are registered presenters, and 96 of whom are our final presenters. These talented participants came from every corner of Indonesia, and others come from Thailand, Mexico, China, Azerbaijan, and Algeria. Therefore, I would like to thank all committee members for their energy and hard work they have put into this agenda. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the third ICTESS, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you, and see you again very soon.
Thank you, Ibu Kristi, as our head of committee. Advance in our agenda, I would like to invite Director of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, Professor Sutardi, to also welcome our guests and to officially open the third International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Science. To Bapak Rektor Sutardi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the Mr. of Ceremony. His Excellency Ambassador Y. Kristiarto S. Legowo, the Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia to Commonwealth of Australia as keynote speaker. Thanks a lot. Honorable speakers, first, Professor Dr. Burhanuddin, University of Technical Malaysia. Second, Professor Takuya Sugahara, PhD, Ehime University from Japan. Third, Associate Professor Dr. Chin Min Lin, National Taichung Institute of Technology, Taiwan. Fourth, Dr. Cielo Amihan, University of Perpetual Health, Philippines. with Dr. Tara Singh Pam, International Union Against Tuberculosis and Lung Disease, Singapore. And 6, Dr. Sirandayani Marwan, come from University of Slamet Riyadi, Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Praise be to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. First of all, please allow me to convey warm welcome to His Excellency Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia to Australia, all honorable speakers from several countries, and also to all participants who have taken the opportunity to participate in the 3rd International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Sciences on the 3rd Ictess program via online system. This international conference is organized and conducted by the committee at Slamet Riyadi University campus. The theme of this international conference is Global Security and Global Cooperation in a Changing World. This theme is tremendously related to the global situation and condition, particularly in pandemic COVID-19 era. The world, as we know, it has changes. Therefore, we have to build strategies based on adaptive, innovative, and cooperative attitude among the nation within this changing world to develop new era of global community. In this wonderful occasion, personally, and on behalf of Slamet Riyadi University, I am pleased to deliver my appreciation to His Excellency as the keynote speaker, to all guest speakers, and to all participants of this conference. I also extend my appreciation to all members of the organizing committee that have worked hard for and during this event. Finally, I wish you to have a good time during this international conference, and also I am confident that this international conference will be our first step to exchange information and ideas, and also to establish further cooperation among our institution in its participants. Hopefully, of this partition will also gain international recognition from their activities today. Lastly, we do hope that all of us will meet again on 4th Ictess in the future. Thank you very much for your attention and for your participation in this today event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for your warm and welcome, and thank you for your warm welcome and opening remark to our guest, Dr. Sutardi. Next, I would like to invite His Excellency Ambassador Kristiarto Legowo, the Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia to the Commonwealth of Australia, to present his keynote speech. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Oke, selamat pagi. Yang sangat saya hormati Rektor Universitas Slamet Riyadi, Profesor Sutardi, the head of the Slamet Riyadi Foundation, Pak Sularso, my good friend, head of the organizing committee, Ibu Kristi Damayanti, distinguished speakers and participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May the blessing of Allah Almighty be always upon all of us. Good afternoon. in Canberra, and good morning for those who are in Indonesia. It is really a great honor for me to give the keynote speech today in the third international conference on technology, education, and social science by Slamet Riyadi University. But first, let me pay tribute to my late senior, Professor Burmauna, whom I understand has assisted the establishment of the International Relations Department in UNISRI. Pak Bur, as he was fondly known, was an expert in international law who has a deep passion for teaching. There are many generations of Indonesian diplomats, including myself, who have had the pleasure of learning international law from Pak Burmauna. It is therefore a great pleasure for me to see that Pak Bur's passport has influenced UNISRI in such a positive way. Yang terhormat Pak Rektor, ladies and gentlemen, our topic today is global security and global cooperation in the changing world. It is an up topic to be discussed, in particular, since we are witnessing some of the most profound changes in the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It was only last February that the pandemic hit Wuhan in China, and within a matter of weeks, it has become an unprecedented global malady. COVID-19 has changed our daily habits at the individual level, and now we must, for example, now we must wear masks in public, have hand sanitizer, and also practice social distancing. It has also changed the way we work, whether we are a civil servant, business employee, university lecturers, or students. And more we are working from home, conduct meetings online via Zoom, giving presentations virtually, and doing our exam and assignments through the internet. The pandemic has also changed the way diplomacy works. Bilateral and regional meetings are convened virtually. Just last month, ASEAN concluded the annual summit and related meetings. There were more than 700 meetings, which were all done virtually. Normally, all the delegation will need to attend those meetings in person, since there needs to be discussions and also negotiations. For myself, as the Indonesian ambassador to Australia, believe it or not, my schedule gets even busier in these times. There are many more invitations for webinars, video conferences, and bilateral talks, all done online. My point on this one is this: even in these trying times, with all the changes happening in the world, we managed to adapt and proceed with our life with adjustment as needed. It seems that we still need to persevere until we find a viable, accessible, and affordable vaccine for us to be able to return to normal. And with all the positive report in the news today, that is something not far away. Pak Rektor yang terhormat, distinguished participant, if only things were so simple at the international stage, maybe I would have to end my remarks at this point. But sadly, the condition is different at the regional and global levels. Even before the COVID struck, our world is facing some major shift and changes. A major shift happened because of the rising competitions between great powers. There were already some considerable tensions between great powers, a sense of competitions between them that has altered a strategic environment all over the planet. These tensions emanate to almost all fields, not just political, but also security and economic. At one point, the world was in the threshold of a trade war that will surely affect all nations. Brinkmanship game played by naval and military operations, as well as the threat of proliferation of weapons of mass destructions, imperil global peace and stability. And unfortunately, at the same time, we still have to continue to deal with non-traditional challenges, ranging from terrorism and extremisms, transnational organized crimes, climate change and environmental degradation, natural disaster, cyber crimes and disinformation, and many more. And right now, COVID has somehow sharpened the division that we already have, putting pressures into prevailing international order and showing the crack in the regional and multilateral architecture. We understand that the international order and international law must become the rule of the game for the interactions between nations. If not respected and upheld, then we may well enter a chaotic condition that will affect the fruits of peace and stability that we have enjoyed so far in our region, namely continuous growth and prosperity. Hence, the dynamic of these great powers have and will continue to greatly affect the world and our immediate regions. Yang saya hormati Pak Rektor, ladies and gentlemen, nevertheless, I note that there are marked differences in the features of the competition, as well as in the international environment during the Cold War and today. Back then, although the two competitors were at parts in terms of military powers, yet it was later shown that they were not equal in terms of economic might, which later proved to be the downfall of the Red Bear in the north. Right now, the competitive field is nearly equal. They are all the largest economies in the world. They also have the largest military globally. The difference do not stop here. We should note that those great powers are also inextricably linked and interdependent with each other. One is the top destinations for others' good export, which continue to increase annually. Meanwhile, the latter's manufacturing capacity is very important for the former's private sectors. This is certainly a different condition than in the past, where there were later interlinkages within the competitors. These differences are important determinants to the results of the competitions. Dale Copeland, a professor in the University of Virginia, echoed a liberal theory that said economic interdependence lowers the likelihood of war by increasing the value of trading over the alternative of aggressions. Hence, interdependent states would rather trade than invade. Furthermore, Joseph Nye argued that interdependence can also have the positive effect of stabilizing deterrence. Entanglement is an important means of making an actor see that the cost of an action will sometimes exceed the benefit hurting the attacker as well as the target. Therefore, the options facing these great powers are very clear. If they are to continue on the destructive path of offensive competition, then they may as well face common losses in terms of their economy, which will also affect the global stability and prosperity. The other option is, of course, to continue cooperations, which will hopefully result in a better condition and provide mutual benefit for all parties. Of course, by choosing to cooperate, the two sides need to put aside their differences or perhaps pursue dialogue and negotiations to discuss such differences on interests and find mutually acceptable solutions to it. Naturally, the globe does not consist of only those great powers alone. There are 100 more countries in the world, including Indonesia, where each will have their own views and can contribute towards the resolutions of such competitions. In the current era, in particular with the technological advances in information and communication, all countries are interlinked, interdependent, and interfuse with each other. Each and every country have a say in shaping of the international order. Each and every nation also have the obligations to maintain peace, security, and stability in the region and in the world. The dynamic competitions between these great powers can be ameliorated with the assistance and participation of other nation states, including Indonesia. As a democracy, as a middle power, as a strong and growing economy in the midst of the Indo-Pacific, Indonesia is strategically placed and can influence the path of the future for the region and the world. This is why, at the regional stage, Indonesia continues to enhance its role in shaping the regional architecture. The best example of this is the ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific adopted in 2019, which was initiated and invigorated by Indonesia and has strongly placed ASEAN centrality as a conditio sine qua non for the progress and development of the Indo-Pacific. Furthermore, Indonesia continues to promote the basic value and principle of relationship between states as the rule of the game in the conduct of its diplomacy, among others. The primary of dialogue and diplomacy in peaceful resolution of disputes, the principle of non-interference in the domestic affairs of others, while also emphasizing the importance of respecting and upholding international law in the conduct of relationship between nations. The pursuit of this principle is very important towards the maintenance of peace, security, and stability, not just in the region, but also globally. Indonesia's leadership is also acknowledged and respected globally, as we are always acting in the common interest of jointly resolving challenges and finding solutions to the problem faced by the world. This leadership role can be seen clearly during Indonesia's non-permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council in 2019-2020. And Indonesia will continue on this important duty in the future by taking up the mantle of G20 chairmanship in 2022, as well as the leadership of ASEAN in 2023. Allow me now to shift our attentions toward the bilateral stage. the bulk of Indonesia's diplomacy is bilateral, ensuring the safety and the security of Indonesians abroad, promoting economic cooperation through trade, investment, tourism, and many more, securing the sovereignty and integrity of Indonesia, and contributing toward the region and the world. Through our bilateral diplomacy, Indonesia pursues not only cooperation for mutual benefits, but also seek to engage and encourage its partner to contribute toward the maintenance of peace, security, and stability, while also striving to enhance prosperity. Let us take example of Australia, and this is very much in line with my portfolio as the Indonesian ambassador to Australia. In the last few years, there has been many exciting developments in the bilateral relations between Indonesia and Australia. In 2018, we elevated our cooperation into a comprehensive strategic partnership. In 2019, the long-awaited Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement was signed and came into force in July 2020. While earlier this year, in February 2020, we had the state visit of President Joko Widodo just before the pandemic forced the closing of the borders. President Widodo's historic visit allowed us to cement the comprehensive strategic partnership between Indonesia and Australia with the signing of the Plan of Action of the CSP. While the CSP is not the panacea to all problems that we are facing, yet it does provide answers to some of them. For example, the CEPA, the basis of the economic part of our CSP, has enabled more intensive economic collaboration between our businesses, which hopefully will ameliorate the impact of global economic slowdown. Since entering into force, the IASEPA has allowed Indonesia goods export to Australia to increase by 9.8% in the first half of this year. In the regional context, we continue our long-standing security partnership under the third pillar of the CSP, namely to contribute toward global and regional peace and stability. While the fifth pillar of the CSP, contributing to the Indo-Pacific stability and prosperity, has encouraged us to advance peace, security, and stability, while also ensuring growth and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific regions. Allow me to recap what I have mentioned so far. We are living in the changing world. There is a competition between great powers, as well a multitude of other challenges. But this competition happens in a different environment, an interdependent world, which always a path to continue cooperation and enjoying the fruit of economic growth. We also have other countries that can alter the course of history, like what Indonesia has done with its contribution so far. I'm greatly optimistic that Indonesia's effort, whether bilaterally, such as with Australia, or regionally through ASEAN, will be able to contribute toward the maintenance of peace, stability, and security in the region and in the world. And we are committed to continue doing this, since Indonesia realized that our own fate tied to the region and to the world. Yet, I must mention that the governments cannot do this alone. Again, the government could not do this alone. To be able to contribute, the government needs the support of the people, including important stakeholders like yourself. Therefore, I hope that this international conference will be able to scrutinize the lay of the land, map out the challenges, identify potential solutions, and to contribute thoughts towards our common endeavor. My highest appreciations again to UNISRI and to the organizing committee for convening this very important conference. I hope you will have a productive discussions during the conference. I thank you very much. God bless us all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the brilliant and eye-opening keynote speech, the Ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, we almost arrived at our first panel session, but before, we're going to take our group of photos. So please turn on your camera. To all the attendees, just turn on your camera for a while. Ten. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again. All right, that's the last. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at our first panel session for this conference. This panel will chaired by Mr. Satria Rizaldi Al-Hatib. Mr. Satria is a lecturer at Department of International Relations. He completed his master's degree from School of Public Policy, National Research, University Higher School of Economics, Moscow. I invite Mr. Satria to chair the panel.
All right, thank you, Angie, and a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Satria, and I will be moderating the first session. Well, first of all, I would like to welcome you to the first sessions of the Third International Conference on Technology, Education, and Social Sciences. We are graced today by the presence of our two distinguished speakers from the first sessions. One is Professor Dr. Burhanuddin bin Muhammad Abu Ubaidir from University Technical Malaysia. We also have Professor Dr. Takuya Sugahara, PhD, from Ehime University of Japan. Just a quick couple reminder before I begin the first sessions. This session will be divided into two parts. The first is the speech from our distinguished speakers, and then we will move to the Q&A for both of the speakers all together. As our general standard rules, please keep your microphone muted throughout the sessions and keep your video screen on so that we may recognize you very easily. And if you have any questions to our distinguished speakers, please insert them to the chat box below. And good news, during the Q&A sessions, you will have the opportunity to raise your questions directly to the speakers by raising your hand virtually using the feature on Zoom. So without any further ado, I would like to call upon our first speaker, Professor Dr. Burhanuddin from University Technical Malaysia. Professor Burhanuddin is a professor in Faculty of Information and Communication Technology, University Technical Malaysia. Currently, he is the director of UTM International Office. He received his diploma in computer science and Bachelor of Computer Science in 2002, Master of Science 2004, and PhD in Computer Science 2009. So I guess without any further ado, I would like to take the honor to invite Professor Burhanuddin to take over the screen. Professor Burhanuddin, the floor is yours.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Good morning. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'il mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Qala rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Dear Chairperson, Moderator, Professor Dr. Kristi Damayanti, Head of ICTESS University 2020, Dear Committee, Dekan Fakultas Ekonomi Yayasan Perguruan Tinggi Selamat Riyadi Surakarta, Indonesia, Director of Selamat Riyadi University Surakarta, Indonesia, Professor Dr. Insinyur Sutardi, keynote speaker, Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia to Commonwealth of Australia, all keynote speakers, dear professor, lecturer, students. First of all, I would like to thank this webinar's organizer for inviting this conference organizer for inviting me to deliver a talk today. Let me share my slide for today. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
All right.
Clear, Rob. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Let me open my slide. Can you see my slide from the screen?
Not yet. Not yet.
We just listening, but there is no.
How about now?
PowerPoint. Okay.
Can you see?
Okay.
Professor, thank you.
All right.
That's good.
Okay. So okay, it is an honor for me to deliver a talk today on the strategies to mitigate risk to small and medium industries economy during this pandemic COVID-19. In this occasion of the International Conference on Technology, Education and Social Sciences. All right. Okay, I am Burhanuddin from the Faculty of Information Communication Technology, University Technical Malaysia, Malacca. And let me briefly introduce all of you about me and our university. Our university established in December 2000, and I joined this university in 2004, which is its first technical university in Malaysia. And most of the staff here are from technical background. Even me, I came from the industry, from Intel Technology, Sendirian Berhad. I was working with Intel. And then after that, I joined ESO Production Malaysia, which is a crude oil company. And with this experience, I joined this public university in Malaysia. And we are specialized in engineering, information communication technology, technology, as well as management. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me briefly tell all of us about the coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic. So, COVID-19 is actually a pandemic affect all the globe, and we have to know in detail about this pandemic first before we move to the subject that we are going to discuss today. Yeah. Secara ringkasnya kita perlu tahu sakitnya dulu, baru kita boleh cari ubat untuk sakit tersebut. Okay. So it is actually identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China, as mentioned by Ambassador just now. And it is an ongoing pandemic of coronavirus disease 2019 caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, or we call it as SARS-CoV-2. And it is mainly spread through the air. Let me show with the pointer. It's mainly spread through the air when people are near each other long enough, okay? Primarily via small droplets or aerosol as an infected person breathes, coughs, sneeze, sings, or speaks. So if we are at a close distance each other, then easily it can spread. And it's transmit via fomites or contaminated surfaces, which has not been conclusively demonstrated. And of course, it is easily spread as early as 2 days before infected persons shows symptom. Sometimes we see that that person looks very healthy, but easily can spread over to us. That's why we have to wear mask all the time. Unless if you are in the conference like this, we are isolated. I'm isolated in my room, in my office, then okay. Otherwise, at the public places, we have to wear mask. And it's remain infectious for up to 10 days in moderate cases and 2 weeks in severe cases. Okay, it include pneumonia and acute respiratory distress syndrome. Maksudnya dia akan menyebabkan saluran pernafasan dan sebagainya. Okay, and there are few things, notes that is very important for us to know. There are several vaccine candidates in development, although none have completed clinical trials, but recently been founded that their vaccine already here, and it will be distributed soon to the people. But later I will share with you, there are a huge number of people affected. How we can give to vaccine to all those people is a challenge today. There is no known specific antiviral medication. Primarily treatment is currently symptomatic. So recommended preventive measures. So apa yang dicadangkan adalah preventive measures, iaitu untuk mengelakkan virus ini. Okay. What we do, we wash our hand, we maintain a social distancing, and then we isolate from the people, even in the mosque or any places, public places, we try to maintain the social distance. And where I get all this information from Wikipedia and other sources that you can Google. All right. Okay, although for most of people, COVID-19 cause only mild illness, it can make sometime this is a very, it can be a fatal, and especially for older people and those with I have to switch a bit. Okay. Older people and those with pre-existing medicine condition, for example, high blood pressure people have heart problems, diabetes, and so on. So they will have difficulties when they get affected. So we have to know the symptom first. Let me describe about the symptom of this COVID-19. I know that everyone knows, but I will try to refresh again about the symptom of this COVID-19. Then I can go and discuss about the strategies and so on. Okay, the symptom is fever, demam, cough, batuk, shortness of breath. You have difficulties to breathe. Kita ada masalah untuk bernafas dengan baik. Chills, rasa sejuk. Repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain. Kita punya urat-urat terasa sakit. Headache, sakit kepala ataupun pening. Kalau di Malaysia dia cakap pening. Sore throat means that our throat here we feel uneasy. New loss of taste or smell. When we eat, we don't have a taste, and then we cannot smell things as well. And fatigue, kita terlalu cepat berasa letih. Okay. And then for those who have all these symptoms, if you go to doctor, a doctor will advise you on some incubation period. Okay. So the incubation period time from exposure to the development of symptoms of the virus is estimated to be between 2 and 14 days based on the following sources. we based on the World Health Organization or WHO reported an incubation period for COVID-19 between 2 and 14 days. However, China's National Health Commissions had initially estimated an incubation period from 10 to 14 days, and the United States estimates 2 and 14 days. That's why when you go to other countries, they have they call as a quarantine period. So that quarantine period will take around 14 days. So now we have seen how difficult for the people who get infected with this virus to move around and so on. Okay, let me show very quickly on the statistics of this coronavirus. The cases you can see in my screen here up to December 7. December 7, last 3 days. I prepared my slide earlier. I sent to the committee. So in December 7, I get the statistics show that 67 million people been affected by these coronavirus cases. And the death is 1.5 million. It's big. And then out of these 67 million, there are many still under the treatment, and they have recovered. 46 million has recovered. So if you minus between these two, you can see that almost 20 million of the people still on the treatment to get out from this virus, which is very crucial. This is by country I have taken. You can see a date here. It's 10 o'clock night on 7 December 2020. I have taken the statistics where the highest we can see United States of America, which is 15 millions, more than 15 millions, followed by India, 9 million, Brazil. And we can see even in the list, we can see the Indonesia at number 20, which is more than half a million of the people being affected. Of course, this is a small number compared to the population in Indonesia, but this is dangerous, and we have to pay attention on this. Okay, as you can see over here, this is the impact to the economy, to the business and economy. So today conference is on technology, social sciences, and of course on the economy and business. So that's why I choose this title to see how this COVID impact to the business and economy. Okay. So business community is badly affected in global economy under the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, as I mentioned, more than 20 million of the people in the world treatment, so they cannot go to work and they have to be quarantined, and we don't know they are affected or not. They have to isolate themselves until they are fit enough to go back to work. Okay, and this is Maybank Group, one of the biggest bank in Malaysia, estimated that the Malaysian economy may shrink by 3.3%. And then Malaysia Employers Federation estimated that number of unemployed person may reach up to 2 million in 2020 with a staggering unemployment rate of 13%. So in Malaysia, we can see there are many unemployed and so on due to this pandemic, because many company they closed down, especially tourism sector, hotel, and also aircraft industry is badly affected. Number 4, if you can see over here, I have mentioned that financial statement which present true, fair and timely picture of business is vital to assist the company to appreciate their financial conditions. Meaning to say that if we have any financial statements, then we have to keep it in the statistics so that we can show and get the trust from other party to get business with us. Okay, otherwise then this will be a big impact to our business. Companies need to identify problem impacting their financial statement. Once we have this statement, the company has to sit down and see the problem impact to their business and try to think of countermeasures to address the threats to their survival. Otherwise, they will collapse due to this pandemic. right? Otherwise, if they have all these, then they can derive strategies to overcome the problem. Next, relevant tools should be deployed to give them chance fighting the pandemic. Okay. For example, in education, we have tools like what we are using now. We have Zoom, we have WebEx, and so on. So that's how we can reach other people rather than we have a very close distance to them. And even if we are in the education sector, if we have classes, so we have to encourage the online class and so on. So there are various tools and methods available, includes but not limited to, in COVID-19 difficult time that we have to explore. Otherwise, it will give a direct impact to our business and economy of the country. Okay. All right. Next, let me discuss on the business strategy in facing pandemic COVID-19. Okay. All right. Some of the business I have identified top 10 business strategy to face this pandemic COVID-19 for the company. Okay. First, they have to form call centers and emerging response team immediately. Okay. So like us in UTEM, in our university, we have a call center. So we call as an emergency call center. Any student, any staff, they will call our emergency center to report whatever news or whatever problem that have due to these pandemic issues. Okay. Next, we have to review current staff current location and their traveling records. I'm now as a director of international center in UTM. So I really closely monitor how our staff and student travel. So if they want to go abroad, for example, overseas, then we will see. If they go back to their home countries, we have many expatriates working in UTEM. So if they want to go back to their home countries, for example, staff from Iran, staff from Indonesia, staff from Philippines, if they want to go back to their own country, we allow them to go back. But if they want to go for tour or they want to go to other countries and so on, we really control their movement, and including the student. So that's how the company should do. They have to monitor and review from time to time. Okay. Even in their home country, for example, in Malaysia, they want to go from one state to another state. We have to review and see either that state is a red zone, a yellow zone, green zone, and so on. Next, we have to revisit crisis and continuity plans timely. Number four, evaluate the supply chain management. If we are in the industry, small or medium or large industry, we have to evaluate the supply chain management, because when we deal with the business, we tend to involve other party on supply the raw material and so on, and then we want to shift the end product, so we have to deal with another people, so we have to evaluate from time to time. All right. Next, number five, identify potential points of failures. Number six, get right communication right. So not only get right communication, but we have to get right communication right. Meaning to say that we are not only giving communication about certain things to people, but we have to analyze and make sure that what we give is the correct information. Okay. Next, we have to use scenario analysis. Number eight, do not lose sight of other risks. So even now we are talking about COVID-19, but at the same time, now if we look at the tropical climate of Malaysia or Indonesia, for example, so monsoon season coming, so raining season coming. So there are other risks like dengue and so on. So we sometimes we tends to give very much attention on one issue, but we tends to forget the other side of the issues. So that's what I mean here. We mean here, do not lose sight of other risk. Number nine, conduct research to study how do things differently. Okay, so if we are in the business sector of tourism, for example, we have to see how can we do this or we market this tourism sector in a different way. Okay, and next, number 10, we have to discover related tools and technology from time to time. You can refer to the sources that I have taken, which is from business.com 7 key action business website. I have given the website over here, and even I have given the slides to the committee, and probably you can distribute later. And you can see this is 7 key, but I have conducted the study, and this is the top 10 that we can focus on. Okay, so let me elaborate more on this top 10 strategy. Number one, call center and ERT. Okay, ERT stand for emergency response team. So we have to share service centers which are potentially vulnerable if the virus continues to spread, and we must monitor number of cases and survival rate very closely. Okay. Number two, as I mentioned, or review workforce location and travel. As I mentioned just now, we have to review, reschedule, or sometime maybe we have to cancel that. So don't be surprised. Sometimes we already booked the flight and so on, but then if we see the risk is high, then we have to sacrifice that money and we have to cancel our trip, for example. Okay. Number three, revisit our crisis and continuous plan, as I mentioned just now. Okay, every well-run business has a crisis or continuity plan, and many will have a specific pandemic plan. So we have to add one more on pandemic plan. But nothing tests theory quite like reality. One Asia-based organization pandemic plan, for example, designated a European city as the evacuation site for employees and their families. But flights from China to the city were suspended soon after the outbreak. So you can see when we plan something, something happened. So we had to be prepared to come up with the action plan from time to time. And just now I have mentioned about the evaluation of the supply chain. Okay, so a clear understanding of our supply chain will help to expose any potential vulnerabilities. This means beginning with the most critical products and looking well beyond first and second tier suppliers, right down to the raw material if possible. For example, if your product contains a component from a country that becomes isolated, for example, so is there a secondary supply? For example, it's come from the top three highest just now I mentioned, US, Brazil, and India. Okay, so if let's say come from that company, that countries, then if let's say they are badly affected, what can we do? The contingency plan we have to do to find the raw material from other places. Okay, number five, identify potential points of failure. Who are the teams and the individuals or whom critical process or service depend? We have to see. And just now I have mentioned about the get right communication right. So this is a very important. Okay, whenever we get the information through the social media, for example, so we cannot simply forward to other people. Okay, we have to investigate first. Is it true or not? Is it come from right channel? If it is come from right channel, who should we forward to? Either we have to forward to medical doctor, or we can forward to our top management, or we can forward or not to our customer. So if anything happen within our organization, can we forward to our customer or not? Huh? And also to the people, maybe they get panic, right? So we have to make sure that we get right communication right at the right time. Otherwise, it will jeopardize our business. Okay. Okay, then number seven, if you can see over here, use scenario analysis. With uncertainty rife today and COVID-19 holding the potential to impact every part of a business for months, scenario planning is a critical tool to test our preparedness. Okay, what are the best and worst case scenarios? And is the business equipped to cope? What could be the impact in the long term? Okay, for example, on working capital or bank confidence, or even rents for shops and restaurants if public places are closed. Okay, so we have to ask certain questions of our finance team to highlight critical sensitivities. Organization in some sectors could see a significant in demand if more of the population is spending more time at home rather than at work. So are they prepared for this? Supermarkets are reducing the variety of products, stocking up on staples and developing contingency plans nowadays in Malaysia. All right. Number 8, don't lose sight of other risks. COVID-19 isn't the only threat of the horizon. We have to know that. And even the vaccine already on the way. And often organizations are at their most vulnerable when dealing with a crisis that dominates their attention. So the many other risks that your business faces are diminished by an epidemic. Cybersecurity, for example, should always be top of mind because every transaction now using online. So cybersecurity should play an important role to make sure that the transaction is safe and so on. Next, number 9 is the conduct research to study how do things differently in education. For example, lecturers, students, and new generation, and how we can use this pandemic to get the opportunity for us to go beyond our limit. And of course, number 10, last but not least, we have to discover related tools and technology via social media, which is important. Either we use YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook, and so on. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that's all my talk today on the response. What I can conclude today. A response window for a risk in business is measured in days. Okay, so any risk, anything happen to our business in 1 day, 1 second, and so on, it can affect. Okay, but then to recover is measured in years. Okay, for example, our reputation. Our reputation actually is the asset and capital for us. Once people lose the reputation, lose the trust, want to get back that trust, we have to take years for that. Okay, so that's why I mean here why recovery is measured in years. Those companies that are well prepared and ready for changes will always recover quickly from any disaster. Okay, I think I have another 5 minutes if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? I've been given 20 minutes. Can I share? I would like to share one important paper today, uh, very quick. All right. I have given this paper to our uh, to the committee, and this is a very good paper. Can you see on my screen? Hello.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. All right. This is the paper about the economic impact of government intervention during the COVID-19 pandemic, international evidence from financial market. You can read this paper is 10 pages, 10 pages, this paper describe about the economic impact. In front of me, I have this paper. Sorry, not 10, 9 pages. 9 pages. I have share with the committee. Later you can take. Okay. This paper written by Badar Nadim Ashraf from one of the institute from China, and he has a collaboration with Vietnam Institute of Business Research. Okay, and this is the recent paper 2020. Okay, and you can see that in this paper, if you read, they use daily data from January 22 to April 17, 2022. So from January to April, they study from 77 countries, okay, 77 countries about the economic impact of stock. Okay, and they examine their expected impact by analyzing the stock market's reaction to this action. They see how's the market impaction when this COVID-19 came, all right? And then they have collected data from three main sources: from daily stock market, returns data, and then other than that, they take daily data of COVID-19 confirmed cases, and one more from the index from the OXCGRT website. And then in this paper, you can see they come up with the very detailed hypothesis of the economic impact of this COVID-19. And if you look at the paper, if you go to the page 9, for example, in this paper, they have given the statistic, page 8, sorry, and they have shown that when the pandemic not been controlled well, then stock market will will very much affected. They have produced the graph. Maksudnya kalau sekiranya kita ada sesuatu syarikat ataupun bisnes, tetapi kita tidak ambil kisah tentang tidak ambil berat ataupun kisah tentang pandemik ini, COVID-19, jadi bisnes kita akan memang akan jatuh. It's a very highly related. That's why just now when I show you the statistic about by the country, US, India, and so on, so we have to do something so that we can control this pandemic. If we can show to the world that we can control this pandemic, then for sure we will improve our business. All right. I think that's all my presentation today. I would like to thank the committee member of this Ictess 2020 for inviting me, and thanks to chairman and then all the keynote speakers, lecturers, students for listening. And I would like to end my presentation here. Probably if you have any question that you would like to raise, please ask. And again, thank you very much for inviting me for this wonderful conference and occasion. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much for your very informative and analytical presentations, Professor Burhanuddin. For the meantime, we would like to request you to stay where you are because we will organize the Q&A sessions all together once Professor Sugahara concluded his speech. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I would like to move straight to our second distinguished speaker. Our second speaker is Professor Takuya Sugahara, PhD. Professor Sugahara obtained his PhD from Graduate School of Agriculture of Kyushu University of Japan. He is currently special aide to the president of Ehime University, and previously was the director of Food and Health Science Research Center at the university. So, Professor Sugahara, if you can listen to us, I would like to invite you to take over the screen, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for introduction. So I'll share my presentation. Can you see? Can you? No
Yes,
problem. Is okay.
Very clear, Prof. Takuya.
Okay. So I'd like to start my presentation. So today I'd like to introduce my study on functional food. So under this COVID-19 pandemic condition, it is very important to enhance our immunological function in our body. So today I'd like to introduce the immunological function of spices. This presentation contributes to the SDGs, especially number 3, the healthy life. So the spices and herbs with powerful health benefits. So the use of spices and the herbs has been incredibly important throughout the history. So many spices are celebrated for their medical properties, where before culinary use. There are so many spices, and in Indonesia, the spices Indonesian people are very familiar with the spices. So the spices have so many health benefits. So, however, scientific evaluation of their health function is not enough until now. So today I'd like to pick up one of the spices, it's cumin. The cumin is cumin seed is one of the popular spices in the world. So several functions of cumin seed have been reported. The lipid soluble components included in essential oil. This cumin aldehyde and beta terpene, gamma terpene they have the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, antibacterial effects. And however, water-soluble components, there is little information. So we would like to focus on the functions of water-soluble substances in cumin. So today, I'd like to introduce the immunostimulatory effect of cumin seed aqueous extract. So the macrophage is one of the immunological cells, the very important cell on innate immune system. So there is some receptors like toll-like receptor 4. The receptor bind with some bacteria, so the macrophage will be activated. So the embedded bacteria was phagocytoted by the macrophage and degraded in the lysosome. Then one of the important function is the antigen presentation. One of the important function of macrophage is antigen presentation to activate acquired immune system. On the other hand, the cytokines, the chemokine production is very important function of macrophage to activate the immunological system. So I'd like to show the sample preparation. The cumin seed powder was suspended in the 10 millimolar sodium phosphate buffer for 20 hours. And then suspended for 24 hours and then centrifuged to collect the supernatant. The supernatant, the water-soluble components, was dialyzed with the molecular weight cutoff 14,000 membrane. After dialysis, pH was adjusted at 7.4. And then sterilized by filtration. Then we prepare the CAE sample, cumin aqueous extract. So we use the CAE as sample for effect on macrophage. So we use the mouse macrophage cell line RAW264.7 cells, and then mouse veterinary macrophages, PMAC, 2 cells, 2 macrophage cells. And we use the 2 kind of media. FBS-DMEM media was used for RAW, 264.7 cells. FBS RPMI 1640 medium was used for PMAC. So cellular viability, cytokine production, gene expression, cellular signal transduction, phagocytic activities were evaluated. At first, we evaluate the cytotoxicity of CAE, cumin aqueous extract, on RAW264.7 cells. So as indicated in this figure, CAE has had no cytotoxicity against RAW cells. So this is the effect of CAE on cytokine production, interleukin 6 and the TNF alpha production by RAW cells. So this white circle is a CAE. So the interleukin 6 production and especially TNF alpha production was very significantly activated. And this is the figure about the CAE treated with elimination of the endotoxin. So endotoxin is the one of the activator of the macrophages. So, but endotoxin contamination is induce the complication understanding of the data. So we need to eliminate the endotoxin from CAE. So elimination process, after elimination of the endotoxin, CAE still have the high activity on cytokine production or by RAW cells. So as indicated in these figures, the CAE can activate the macrophage cytokine production. So we'd like to evaluate how CAE can activate the RAW cells. So we evaluate the effect on gene expression level in RAW cells, interleukin 6 gene expression and the TNF alpha gene expression. So CAE can activate the gene expression level of interleukin 6 and the TNF alpha. So from this result, CAE can activate the gene expression level to enhance the cytokine production. So this figure shows the effect of CAE on PMAC, pituitary macrophage from mice. So this PMAC is the primary cell from mice body. So not only cell line RAW264.7 cells, not only cell line, but also CAE can activate primary PMAC, as indicated in this figure. Interleukin 6 production and the TNF alpha production, both cytokine production can be activated by CAE. So the effect of CAE on RNA, messenger RNA expression, gene expression level in PMAC was evaluated. So as well as RAW cells, CAE can activate the gene expression level in PMAC, as indicated in this figure. So we need to evaluate how CAE can activate the cytokine gene expression level in macrophage. So this is a signal transduction in macrophage. These bacterial substances bind to the receptors such as the TLR4. So the bacterial substance activate the macrophage. So there are two pathways. One pathway is the MAP kinase pathways indicated here. The other one is the NF-kappa B pathways as indicated here. there are two major pathways to activate the macrophage under the TLR4 receptors. So we evaluate the effect of CAE on these two pathways. So with the Western blotting analysis, we evaluate the effect of CAE on MAP kinase and TNF-kappa B pathways. So the CAE activate NF-kappa B and one of the MAP kinases, JNK, P38, ERK, or especially P38 was significantly activated. However, JNK and ERK also activated. However, no significance. However, some tendency can be observed. So the NF-kappa B activation and especially P38 MAP kinase activation were induced by CAE in macrophage cells. So with that, to summarize the mode of action of CAE in macrophage. So the CAE can activate P38 pathways, P38 under the MAP kinase signal pathways. And NF-kappa B activation was also observed. So CAE can activate these two pathways to enhance macrophage, especially gene expression levels of cytokines in macrophage. So the effect of CAE on cytokine production under TLR4 inhibited condition. TLR4 is a major receptor on macrophage cell surface. So the under downstream of the TLR4, there are MAP kinase signaling pathways and NF-kappa B pathways. So we evaluate the effect of CAE on TLR4 receptors. So after inhibited condition of TLR4, the effect of CAE on cytokine production was evaluated as shown in this figure. So red circle is the no inhibited condition. The orange circle show the TLR4 inhibited conditions. Under the TLR4 inhibited condition, CAE cannot activate the interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha production, as indicated here. So from this figure, we can, it is suggested that the CAE bind with or interact with TL4 to activate macrophages. However, CAE do not contain the endotoxin. Endotoxin is the activator of the macrophage. However, endotoxin eliminated CAE can activate, can interact with TLR4 and activate macrophages to stimulate cytokine production. Cytokine is a very important immunological protein to activate immune systems. So the CAE can activate macrophage. Macrophages participate in the innate immune system. So the intake of CAE is very important to activate our immunological functions. So this is the last data. So the effect of CAE on phagocytosis of RW cells. Phagocytosis is the eating activity of macrophage, bacteria eating activity. So the activation of phagocytosis is very important to eliminate embedded bacteria. So by treatment with CAE, the phagocytosis activity is activated by CAE, as indicated here. So Texas levels zymosan A is the bacteria components. So eating bacteria components activities clearly activated. So the CAE activates not only cytokine production, but also phagocytosis eating activity of bacteria on macrophages. So we collaborated with many Indonesian universities. So we evaluate the function of Indonesian foodstuff, arrowroot, bangkuang, snake fruits, kedran, pollen, and red fruits, and many kinds and spices also. So we collaborate with many universities in Indonesia to evaluate the food function and to estimate to develop the functional foods. So one of the spice company in Indonesia, we collaborate with the spice company in Japan, SB Food, and the spice company in Indonesia, SIP, and universities. So we collaborate with the industrial academia and the industrial collaboration we collaborate with the spice companies to develop the functional food in both in Indonesia and Japan using same evidences like cumin function, immunological stimulative function of cumins. So we in academia we evaluate the food function and collaborate with a spice company. We develop the many kinds of functional food to stimulate the immunological functions. So this slide indicate the conclusion of my presentation. So the cumin aqueous components can activate macrophage cytokine production and macrophage phagocytosis activity. And then this induced the estimation of the immunological system in our body to prevent from infectious diseases. It is very important to the sustainable society to facilitate our health. So that's all. So thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your very informative presentations. And for our two distinguished speakers, please stay where you are. We are now moving to the Q&A sessions. And actually, I have a couple of questions on my disposal, and I would like to summon some of our students from the Department of IR to interact directly to you and ask their questions. So with that, I would like to invite, first of all, Miss Ellen Monica Audrey Soharyanto. She is a student in our IR department and is also the chairperson of IR Student Associations. Miss Ellen, if you could listen to us, please unmute yourself and direct your questions to Professor Burhanuddin. Ellen, you may have the floor.
Thank you for your opportunity, sir. I am Ellen from Salamat Riyadi University. I will ask Mr. Baharudin for a question. And my question is, how is South Asia in dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic, especially in Malaysia? Is there any law enforcement that has changed during the pandemic, and does it relate to the existing international mechanism? Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Professor Burhanuddin, you may answer the question.
Yes, thank you very much, Miss Ellen, for your question. It is a good question about the law enforcement due to this COVID-19 or pandemic outbreak. Okay, in Malaysia, there are many laws being introduced. They give a compound to the people who did not wear masks and so on. And also for those people that identify as a PUI, person of investigation, for example, or person of surveillance. So they will give, like they give a ring, pink color, okay, pink color. And then if they go out and then they didn't quarantine themselves at home, so they will be caught and even they will put in the prison. Okay, so there are many enforcement in a government level and also in a state level to control this pandemic up to now. And if certain places they are identified is there are COVID-19 cases, then they will isolate that place where they will barricade the area and so on, so that people cannot move out from that area or red area to other area. So that is in a country and the state level. But then in the more specific level, for example, in university, in UTM, in our university in Malacca, so in order for them to enter to the campus, so we have many screening and make sure that they don't have all the symptoms that I have mentioned just now in my slides, then only do we allow them to come in. All right.
Ellen, do you want to respond to that?
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Ellen. I guess the second question will come from Ms. Yunita Ariputri, also from IR department. I would like to invite Ms. Yunita to take over the screen and speak directly to Professor Burhan. Ms. Yunita, if you listen to us, please unmute yourself and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Satria. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yeah, Ms. Anita, please.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to asking the question about the sector economy in Malaysia. As we know that the GDP of Malaysia has grown with many construction during this pandemic until it's known as low recorded growth from of Malaysia, which minus 17.1% in the second quarter of 2020. Saying this, one of the policies carried out by the Malaysian government was giving an economic stimulus package around 940 trillion rupiah, or around 250 Malaysian currency. Based on that, can it be an economic stimulus package provide a long-term recovery for the large and small economic sectors in Malaysia, or maybe giving an economic stimulus package is the only way through this? How's your opinion regarding to that, Professor? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Unita, for the question. This is about the packages that we give to people. In fact, government giving the package to people so that they will spend. But then if we keep the money, then they won't spend. The money won't grow, and then we cannot contribute to the economy. That is why in Malaysia, government giving the money to people so that people will spend, and then they will money will grow. Okay, and if we do not do that, like your money you keep in the bank, you keep your saving in the bank, so you just give the get the interest from the bank. So actually the interest is not much. But then if you take out that money and then you invest, you do business, so you will get more profit from the money that you have. So that is the basic concept that I can answer here. And when it goes to the university level, for example, in our university, we give incentive a data plan to the student. So student have to go online the classes. So we give money, I think around 50 ringgit monthly for data plan. Okay, and then with that money they will pay to the telecommunication provider. So indirectly we help this telecommunication provider to do business during this time. And same goes to the student also. They are, if a student is really poor, so we have incentive that we give a smartphone, we give a notebook to them. Okay, by doing that we help other company like ICT companies to sustain in the market and sustain the business, rather than we keep that money in our saving or in our fixed deposit. All right. So if you look at the economy, there is one of the way that we can stimulate the economy. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question, Ms. Yunita. It has been very engaging conversations. I would like to call upon our last questioner for Professor Burhanuddin. I would like to invite Ms. Wasiatul Alaina from IR department. Please unmute yourself and you may speak directly to Professor Burhanuddin. Ms. Wasiatul Alaina, you may have the
floor. Okay, thanks for the opportunity. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
I want to ask to Professor Burhanuddin.
Yes, please.
What the strategies is suitable for implementation in both industries? Whereas we know that the economy of this medium and small industry has a very different economic value. And what main strategy of business strategy in facing pandemic COVID-19 to increase this economy? Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Strategy for, again, I not clear. Strategy for?
Strategy for increase this economic in era pandemic.
Oh, strategy to encourage the economic during this pandemic. Okay, for this one, I would like to share one of the economic strategy that given by Oswalder and Pignio in 2010. Just give me a second. Let me open the template so that I can discuss with you. Okay. All right. If you see at my screen, you can see one of the strategy given by Oswalder and Pignio in 2010. If we want to boost in our business, okay, so we have to study our key partners. Who is our key partners? Okay, if you see over here, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, if you look at my screen, this is the key partners. So we have to identify who is our key partners. Okay, during this pandemic, maybe our key partners is no more our partners because of the pandemic. They have infected or they are in the country that have a high risk. So we have to identify other key partners. Once we identify other key partners based on our business, then we have to put the activities. And maybe the activities is varies because before when we deal with our previous key partners, so the activities may be different and now it's different. And then we have to see what of the resources that we have. Okay, resources, for example, how much money that we have, how about the capital that we have, how many people that we have, who is healthy to continue the business and so on. And then we have to value our business. And next, about the customer relationship, what type of relationship we would like to have and what kind of business that we can sustain and what kind of business that we have to eliminate. For example, in the education, so we have to, in our university, we have to eliminate all face-to-face training. We have face-to-face training, we have to eliminate, no more face-to-face training. So what kind of alternative that we can do so that we can get money or income from the training, either online or so on, or so on. And then, of course, when we want to do that, it involves cost. Okay, so we have to have cost structure here. You can see in my slide, in the left-hand side corner at the bottom, you can see the cost structure. And then from that cost, can we generate the income or revenue or not? If not, then we have to think something else. Okay, so this I have forwarded this material as well to the committee. Maybe you can share. The template that we should have is something like this. Okay, so you have blank template. You have to put based on the business that you have, and from there you can come up with the strategies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, for answer.
You're most welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Burhanuddin. I think that's all for you. Now we are moving to Professor Sugahara. We have 3 questions from our disposal. So with that being said, I would like to invite the first question from Mr. Gilbert Ferdinand from University of Slamet Riyadi. I would like to invite Mr. Gilbert to take over the floor and speak directly to Professor Sugahara. Mr. Gilbert.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Satria. I would like to ask to Professor Takbia Sugahara. Is my voice audible, Mr.?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I would like to ask you about Japan's pre-COVID and post-COVID. Like, has been an easy process for Japan, for Japanese, because of its people who always obeys the rule, and I see them like, wow, who Indonesia is very hard to obey the rules as well. But I want to ask you how Japan withstand in order to sustain the global pandemic in global security and sustainable from a lot of problems through to 2020. Thank you, and it's been an honor to ask you. Thank you.
Thanks for your question. So you mean the how Japan treat with the COVID-19, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in Japan, so we strictly regretted to prevent from the infection by COVID-19. So we make the social distancing and to prevent some traveling, something so on. So in Japan, so especially Tokyo, Osaka is very strictly regretted to traveling. So that's why the pandemic situation is not. Of course, in Japan also very serious problem of COVID-19, but much better than the other countries in Japan. So maybe we are normally we use the mask and in the every day, and especially outside of the building, inside of the building. So we use normally you use the mask. It is a usual days, usual life. It is a common life for Japanese people to using a mask to talk with the other people. So we individually Japanese people taking care with the prevent from the infection. It's okay. Thank you.
I guess thank you so much for Professor Sugahara for answering Mr. Gilbert Ferdinand's questions. I will move to the next, to the second questions. I would like to invite Mr. Kinan Christian Aji Prasetyo. If you listen to us, please unmute yourself and speak directly to Professor Sugahara.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, thank you. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Kinan Christian, and I like to ask some question to Professor Takbia Sugahara. The first one is it true that Japan are not using the lockdown system like the other country? And the second one is, if it's true, how can Japan keep the COVID-19 under control even without the lockdown like the other country did? I'm sorry if my question out of the topic, but it's my curiosity. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what is the first question?
Oh, the first question is it true that Japan are not using the lockdown system?
No lockdown system, especially, yeah.
Okay.
No lockdown, yeah. How about the second one?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, second one. Second question.
Oh, the second one. The second one, and if it's true, and how Japan keeps the COVID-19 under control, even without the lockdown, like that.
Yeah. So in Japan, the pandemic pandemic started in this March or something, and then now we have the third waves of the pandemic. So, however, no lockdown especially in Tokyo, also Osaka and Hokkaido. Maybe the COVID-19 infection is maybe controlled by Japanese government. So we need to lock down the big cities. So, however, next 2 weeks later, we have the winter vacation season. So we are very anxious about the pandemic and during the winter holidays. So it is a very serious problem next 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Mr. Kinan, for your questions. I would like to jump to the last question for Professor Sugihara. I would like to invite Ms. Anissa Suciani to take over the screen and speak directly to Professor Sugihara.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. I would like to ask to Mr. Takuya about one of the impact of COVID-19 is the economic decrease in some government, society, and others. The economic decrease can also lead to a global food crisis. In fact, during this pandemic, we really need proper food supplies. So can the global food crisis be minimized by the cooperation between Indonesia and Japan in developing spices? And if possible, will it also require large funds to develop that? Thank you.
So I'm sorry. So can I can't hear you. So sorry. May I have the question again?
Oh, okay, sir. In fact, during this pandemic, we really need proper food supplies. So, can the global food crisis be minimized by the cooperation between Indonesia and Japan in developing spices? And
Yeah.
if possible, will it also require large funds to develop that? Thank you.
So development of the functional food using spices between the Japan and Indonesia, something like that. So we already start with the Indonesian companies and Japanese company to develop some functional food using spices, especially cumin and some other spices, coriander, something like that. So in Indonesia, you have jamu. It's a traditional drink for your health conditions. So maybe jamu is also the one of the functional food using spices. So we want to develop some kind of functional food like jamu, something like that. It's okay?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Anissa Suciani. Thank you so much for our distinguished speaker. I'm afraid I have to stop at this point of time as we are nearing the end of the first sessions. I would like to extend our foremost gratitude to our distinguished speakers. Thank you so much, Professor Sugihara. Thank you so much, Professor Burhanuddin, for coming today and answer all the questions from our participants. With that being said, I would like to return the screen back to our MC. Thank you so much and see you in the second session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me for this conference.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, thank you. Especially Prof. Kristi Damayanti and Director of Slamet Riyadi, Professor Dr. Insinyur Sutardi. Hope to see again soon in this conference. In the next.
Thank you, Prof.
Next
Thank you so much, professors. We hope the cooperation between our university will continue to flourish in the future. I hope to see you again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Satria, for chairing the first panel. And I also thank you for all the participation, to all the participants who already present your great question. And we go. Right. Next, we have our second panel for this conference. This panel will be chaired by Mr. Sumar Diono. Mr. Dion is a lecturer at the Department of English Education, and he is also our head of international office. So I invite Mr. Dion to chair the panel.
Okay, thank you, Angie, and all the participants. Please welcome to the International Conference of Technology, Education, and Social Science, Global Security and Global Cooperation in Changing World. And now we are at the second session. And in this session, we will have three great speakers from Indonesia, Taiwan, and Republic of Philippines. Okay, we have three very great speakers. The first is Prof. Chen Minlin from the Department of English at National Taichung Institute of Technology, Taiwan. And then the second is Shelo Amihan, PhD from University of Perpetual Health System, Delta, Republic of the Philippines. And then the last but not the least, Dr. Sri Handayani, SPD, M.Hum from English Education Department of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, Surakarta, Indonesia. But before we start our session, I would like to show you the rules for this session. The first is the participants will be muted for voice hearing during the presentation, but will be able to provide questions via the chat room, but direct questions are also welcome. Okay, and then please do not close your session or log out during the webinar. You may leave anytime in between, but your login may not be connected as it may interrupt the system. So you can log out after the event finishes, okay? And of course, I would like to, I would like to invite Professor Chin Minlin from National Taichung Institute of Technology, Taiwan. Okay, I would like to tell you a little bit about Prof. Chin Minlin. She is receiving the doctoral degree of bilingual education, Texas A&M University of the USA. She is also an associate professor and the chairperson of the Department of English at National Taichung Institute of Technology, Taiwan. And in this very great opportunity, she is going to present students' internship experiences. Please, Prof. Chin Minlin, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this conference. I'm going to share you the internship experiences of students because for the COVID-19 parts in Taiwan, as you all know that we all live normally here in Taiwan because we don't have any COVID-19 cases in Taiwan domestically. Most of the cases are from outside the country, and they are just detected by the government in the airport. So when they when they are in the community in Taiwan, they are all healthy. So in Taiwan, actually, everyone lives the normal life as before. And we all go to restaurants and in the pub and everything, in the gym, and we don't have any lockdown activity. So everything is normal here. So actually, for the learning experiences for the Taiwan students, we all go to school and have the normal learning life, and we don't use any internet to teach in Taiwan because everyone can go to school and we are safe. Actually, we still wear masks just in case, but that's just for caution. I don't think there's really necessity. So here we are going to discuss my topic. And I'm going to share my can you see?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet, yeah.
Not yet.
Please setting up.
Something happened here. Can you see?
Not yet, probably.
Not yet?
Yeah.
How about now? Can you see?
Not yet.
Not yet. Actually,
Okay.
see. How about now?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yes.
How about now?
Not yet, probably.
Not yet?
Yes.
Okay, I think there's some problem with my...
Okay.
Not yet?
Okay, the operator will present.
Maybe Mr. Dion will help you.
Somebody is helping you, Pravlin. Don't worry. Okay. Mr. Operator. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yep. Okay. Okay. It's very clear now.
Yes,
It's clear
very good.
now?
Very good. Clear.
Clear? Okay. Now
Okay.
I'm going. Okay, good. And I'm going to share the students' internship experiences in Taiwan. And first is the introduction part. The Ministry of Education in Taiwan encourages domestic colleges and universities to send students to study abroad or foreign professional internship subsidies.
Kan jaga ujian sih ya. Nanti bukannya minta ya laporan ya. Yang laporan kegiatan dengan fotonya ya.
The Ministry of Education hereafter will refer to as the MOE, encourages domestic public and private colleges and universities to select and send outstanding students to go overseas for training or internships in enterprises and institutions to fully expand the participation of young domestic students in international exchanges and cooperation activities. So first, we got this kind of scholarly exchange program. This is, we got 4 types of subsidies introduced as follows. These are the subsidies the MOE provide for all the students in Taiwan, for the outstanding students in Taiwan. We'll select and send outstanding students to foreign colleges and will select and send out outstanding students to foreign colleges and universities to study. Select and send outstanding students with low-income foreign colleges and universities to study. These are 2 different programs. The first one is sending the ordinary students outside, but they don't have they don't have the situation of low income. The second program is just for the low income students because we think we got to give them more chances to see the world. So they got the more chance to be sent outside to the foreign colleges and universities. And there's another kind called realizing a dream through overseas internship program. We use international cooperation program channels to select and send students to foreign companies and institutions for work. And schools are recommended to arrange their own internship institutions and planning internship areas. This is for this kind of internship courses. We can integrate students' learning and work experience together. And we'll select and send students to companies and institutions in places like Southeast Asia countries for internships. This is another kind of internship. We use this kind of internship to differentiate this kind from the other kind, like to go to like America or go to Western countries. This program, we got 4 programs. The fourth programs like this is just focused on the Southeast Asia countries or the Australia and New Zealand. The countries down below Taiwan in the map down below. And so we only focus on these countries to cooperate with the companies in these countries. And the outcome, we want to say that students will have a better understanding of the lifestyle and background of each country's culture, which will help deepen the relationship and cooperation with each country in the future. For the scholarly exchange program, we select and send outstanding students to foreign colleges and universities to study. The subsidy period is limited to 1 semester or 1 quarter or 1 academic year. The students can choose to go to other schools for 1 semester, or they want to go to there for 1 quarter or 1 academic year. The MOE subsidizes each person from $50,000 UNT dollars to 300,000 NT dollars. The amount of the subsidy will be adjusted according to the budget of the MOE. Maybe that year MOE has more money, then they'll give us more money for the students. If they got less money from the government, then the MOE will give less money to every school, and then every school will give less money to every student. The actual amount of the subsidy per person is decided by the recommended school. So each school can decide which student gets how much money, which may include an international round-trip economy class ticket and foreign tuition and living expenses. For the scholarly exchange program for low-income students, this is specifically for low income. The last one is for everyone. This one is for low-income students. We will select and send our outstanding students with low income to foreign colleges and universities to study. The subsidy period is limited to 1 semester, 1 quarter, or 1 academic year. The MOE subsidies each person from 50,000 NT dollars to 300,000 NT dollars. The amount of the subsidy may be adjusted according to the budget of the MOE, and the actual amount of subsidy per person is decided by the recommended school, which may include an international round-trip economy class ticket and foreign tuition and living expenses. And the other program, we call that realizing a dream through overseas internship program. Through this program, students should work at an institution for at least 30 consecutive days, not including the round-trip transportation time. The maximum subsidizing period is limited to 1 academic year. You can go there for a whole year. However, those who are going to Indonesia for internship should have at least 25 days at working, not including the transportation time for the round trip. So you have to work there for at least 25 days. And the actual amount of subsidy will be determined by the recommended school. The subsidy of each person should include at least 1 international round-trip ticket. It may also include living expenses and subsidy for the teacher limited to 1 teacher, because the teacher should visit those students overseas while they are working in that country. So the MOE will also give the teacher the money they needed to go to that country to visit that student, including the round trip ticket and the living expenses over there, maybe for 3 or 5 days. And the teacher can have living expenses for less than 15 days for visiting their students, because some students will stay in the country for a whole year. So the teacher cannot stay there with with those students for the whole year. So the students can only stay there and maximum for 15 days. But sometimes if they want to, some teacher will stay in one country for more than 15 days. Actually, in the summer situation, some teachers will like stay in that country for the whole summer, and the teacher must pay for those living expenses out of their own pocket. And the students' reflection, this is the real students' reflection they wrote after they come back to Taiwan. And some overseas internships are working in theme parks. The work routine includes greets guests with a smile, receives orders, processes payments, and responds appropriately to customer issues, operates cash register, and uses value-added suggestive selling techniques to generate additional sales opportunities, verifies the accuracy of guest orders, prepares and packages food and drink products, cleans kitchen areas, counters, food preparation areas, and utensils, cleans dining room, restrooms, and exterior grounds, maintains health and safety standards in work areas, uploads and stocks inventory items as needed, performs duties at multiple workstations, prompt and regular attendance on assigned shifts, works to resolve issues that may arise in the restaurant, learns team effectiveness skills, works with others to achieve team goals, responds to guest needs in a professional and polite manner, communicates in a positive manner with customers, peers, and managers. They learn to be team players and work well with their team, including being engaged and displaying pleasant and enthusiastic attitude. They learn to serve hot and fresh food in a clean and safe environment in a friendly and fast manner. Actually, one of the students even said that in the theme park, they'll dump the food that is not, that is cool, because when they finish the hamburger, like in like 10 minutes or half an hour, and the guests are not coming to pick that up, or then the hamburger stays there for they think too long. They just dump the food. So they got to serve the hot and fresh food, because for students from Taiwan, they think that's wasting wasting food. Why do we dump the food? This edible is just not that hot. But the theme park thinks that we should provide fresh food. These are not that fresh because they're cool. They are cool. So we'll get a new one. We redo that. So that's for students. They are so shocked. We dump a lot of food in one day. And they also learn to follow the site's specific procedures for offering consistent and quality customer experiences. Although the job is similar to the restaurant job in Taiwan, as you can see, all the procedures are the same for Taiwan, except in the dumping a lot of foods in the garbage can. It is often a great challenge to communicate in a foreign language, English. In Taiwan, most students might feel that their conversational skill in English was quite good. But when they went abroad, they not only had to get along with people from English-speaking countries, but also had to communicate with people who spoke other mother tongue as well. Colleague interaction became a big challenge at work. Students need to be able to ask questions, express their opinions, and understand the concepts they want to convey. And classmates made considerable progress in their language communication and became more confident in their English skills. They are not afraid to express themselves in English and are more able to communicate cross-culturally with people of different backgrounds. Students made considerable progress in communication and became more confident in their English skills. They are not afraid to express themselves in English anymore and are more able to communicate cross-culturally with people of different backgrounds. There are also some students who go to Vietnam for an internship. In Vietnam, they may go to a shoe factory for an internship. For many students, this is their first time flying abroad. The first time they live abroad, the first time they have the chance to see how a company operates. They feel that they have learned some professional knowledge of making shoes. In the beginning, it seems hard to get along with Vietnamese. After the students learn to really make a pair of shoes through the guidance of the Vietnamese, they gradually make sincere communication with those workers in Vietnam. They also admire the tactical skills the Vietnamese have because it's really very hard for students. They are the first time to use those machines to make shoes. So they really think that Vietnamese are wonderful. They can make those shoes in a very short time period and with accuracy and everything. For example, when they are in a company meeting, they can feel that if each department of the whole company is closely interlocked, if a department delays the work, the subsequent operations will also lag behind, which will affect the final shipment. After completing the internship, students had a positive attitude toward the internship experience and valued the experience very much. Whether it was about learning interpersonal communication skills or professional knowledge, the internship has had a great impact on the students' learning. Of course, there are many students who find that they are not suitable for the industry after the internship. But this is what makes the internship experience so valuable, as it allows students to find an area of work that does not suit them within a short period of time, and they can pursue other career later on. Of course, there are many students who find that they are not, this is the same thing. Thank you for the attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Lin, for your very inspirative presentation today. And please stay tuned because at the end of the presenter's presentation, there will be some questions from the audience for you. So please stay tuned. Okay. The next speaker The next great speaker is from the Republic of Philippines, Dr. Zilo Amihan, PhD, from University of Perpetual Health, Republic of Philippines. Please, okay, but a minute, I would like to present a brief about Dr. Zilo Amihan. Okay. Okay, Dr. Amihan is currently the cluster head of the Humanities and Social Sciences, composed of the College of Arts and Sciences. And he is also actively engaged in research as a professor, editorial board in international journals, international lecturers, panelist, advisor, and researcher. And today, in these very great opportunities, he is going to present relevant and responsive education in the global age. Dr. Shilo Amihan PhD, please. The floor is yours. You have 20 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I hope everyone could hear me. I'll try also to share my screen. Please give me a feedback if it's okay already. It's okay already. You could see the slides and you could actually hear me. I
Okay.
just need confirmation. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. To start, I wish to say thank you to the organizers for including me in this very worthwhile event. Hopefully, we would have more collaborations in the future, engaging the Philippines and institutions in the Philippines in these kinds of discussion. This is very, very timely, centered on the theme on global security and global cooperation in a changing world. In my own context, I wish to present to you about relevant and responsive education in the global age. And it would really answer the question, how could education be relevant and how could education be responsive to what? Okay, so I'm from the University of Perpetual Help System Delta in the Philippines, an autonomous university in the Philippines. It's the highest level of accreditation being provided by the Commission on Higher Education, the regulatory body in the Philippines. So when you talk about relevance and responsiveness, regardless of the disruption that we are experiencing right now, I think we are still focused on attaining the 2030 agenda as spelled out in the sustainability development goals. In my perspective, in my context, I wish to highlight really on goal number 4, which is on quality education. Although even before the pandemic, we had the strides, we had the momentum already, although we were not yet within the targets that we projected going into 2030. However, the momentum is now stalled because the gains that we had for 2020, which we started 2015, really backtracked. Is because of the disruptions, and it's really a tough battle ahead going to 2030. Another context would be providing accessible, relevant, and sustainable education in a smaller context, comparing it with the global um, perspective. It's more on the regional perspective, the ASEAN, a future community of great opportunities. Of course, we inked that deal. We had a partnership acknowledging that we would create an ASEAN economic community last 2015, and we hope to find a common space as member nations in the ASEAN community. So we need to provide and we need to be in one direction with regards to education, so that we could agree on the common standards that would be followed for a common ASEAN economic community. And on that process, there was also a development of standards with regards to the competencies of teachers who would be handling students not just on their own respective nations, but students of the ASEAN community. And at the center of it would be the joyful learner. Every competency requirement of a teacher should always center on the learner. And the core competencies would be knowing and understanding what I teach as a teacher, helping the students learn, engaging with the community, and becoming a better teacher every day. So that would be the target for all the Southeast Asian nations in trying to develop their educators of the future in this global age. So I was thinking that so that we could reach and attain um, a unity and harmony in the ASEAN higher education common space, we need to reflect on a few things. First is that we operate with cultural diversity. So it's essential for us to know whether we are prepared in a sense that we could provide multicultural education. Another thing is that we have different national competency framework. We need to align it with a common competency framework for the Southeast Asia. Another concern, really, if we talk about relevance and responsiveness of education, now we need to factor in the major disruption. I think I could hear some background noise. Sorry for that. I think those are part of the disruptions that we need really to respond and do something about. But we need to be resilient. Okay. So the key here is resilience in education amid the pandemic. We need to continue to provide high quality of education despite the pandemic. It's because it affects not just the institution, but the stakeholders, namely the students, parents, and then the faculty. There would be so many complaints coming from faculty, yes, but on this situation that we are in, we need to pay attention also to the health, not just on the physical health, also the well-being of the students and then the parents. It's a nice observation, not really nice. This is a significant observation that there was an expectation that because of the pandemic, with the restrictions, with the limitation of movement, then there would be less opportunity for the commission of crime. However, crime rates still increased in the Philippines despite the quarantine measures that were implemented. Those were for the first few months of the quarantine period in response to the pandemic. And now we are talking really about mental health. We keep on saying that the next crisis would be more on the mental health crisis as a consequence of the pandemic. And yes, there was a spike of mental health cases reported in our National Center for Mental Health here in the Philippines. And we are now highlighting technology. Technology is somehow taking a center stage in this pandemic with regards to education, connecting technology and communication, but it's more really of miscommunication of what's happening because of technology, and there will be so many ethical concerns also. And people are so dependent, especially the students, very highly dependent on social media. There's that fear of missing out, and the social media is really bombarded, populated with so many negative news that would create negative vibes, and somehow that would substitute their social life. So it's really very alarming. Given this context, how could we provide resilience in education? So the idea is so that we could have resilient learners, we need to have resilient faculty members. And when you have resilient faculty members, they are individuals who have the social and emotional skills. I'm talking about self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision making. So that if the faculty would possess this, they may be able to convey and translate this into their instruction so that we could also have learners with SEL. So in my studies, I tried to determine these important things. First is, what is the level of multicultural education? Although this is just confined to a particular region in the Philippines, region 4A, It's the second highest number of schools and in terms of population also within the Philippines next to the capital. And next is, are we ready? Do we have faculty members who possess the Southeast Asian Teacher Competency Framework? So it really talks of readiness going towards an ASEAN economic community wherein we would have shared resources, and these resources are shared teachers. Then in response to the pandemic, there would be shifts, there would be adaptations, flexibility, and adjustments of the quality of services or of the services so that we could still remain and retain the quality of education that we do in the higher educational sector. And the last thing that I tried to determine is the level of SEL teaching of the faculty. Let's go first with the multicultural education. There were 19 statements reflecting multicultural education practices. I wish to highlight on the top two and then the bottom two. Although every statement is rated as observed, but most notably, highest in their rating would be the school ensured that all students have equitable opportunities to learn. It's a good thing. Okay, therefore the school is ready insofar as providing equality for learning, equal access for quality of education. Another thing that I wish to highlight is the school provided all students with opportunities to participate in not just in the curricular activities, extra and co-curricular activities that develop the skills they need to increase academic achievement. These are the two top competencies. However, we still lack the following, which are essentially important. First, the school ensured that students learn about stereotyping. It appears that there's still lacking effort on the part of the higher education institutions in the Philippines to really teach about stereotyping within their curriculum. Another thing is the teachers provide classroom activities for students to interact with students from other racial, ethnic, cultural, and language group. It appears that there was still a barrier. And this survey, this assessment was conducted before the pandemic. Now we would assume that it's even harder to promote multicultural practices when you would shift to online learning and online instruction. The next concern is, are we prepared? Do we have the teachers who are ready for a common space of the ASEAN community? The highest would be teachers are kind and compassionate. This is something required as a common standard. Another is nurture relationship with care and respect. These are the two highlighted competencies that the teachers being surveyed in the region have and possess. However, most notably, those ranked lowest, meaning to say this should be highly enhanced, would be the mastery of the subject content, and this should be promoted regardless whether we are in a pandemic or not. And it's very, very alarming. It's because you could not really teach what you do not have for a teacher. Another key concern, especially in context of our discussions right now, we are promoting research dissemination, exchange of knowledge. However, our teachers really lack the competencies of using research-based knowledge into their teaching. So this would somehow be a wake-up call for us. Let's try to reflect on this. With regards to quality of education, if you could notice here, well, these are the 10 common indicators or areas assessed by accreditation in the Philippines and even for the regulatory agencies that schools provide as services to students. Mainly on, there's a shift here. From faculty, now we have virtual faculty. The usual instruction now becomes online instruction. The laboratories now become simulated or virtual laboratories. Research would still remain the same. However, the library now would become the virtual library. The services of the guidance office and all the other support services are now online or e-services. The facilities are now virtual facilities replaced by the learning management systems. How sophisticated do we have? How responsive are our learning management systems? The philosophy and objectives still remain the same, but we now have virtual administrators. Now, when trying to rank at this, although every indicator is good, to be highlighted is that students are most contented with the administrator support and the way the teachers deliver instruction. That's online instruction and virtual administrators. So it's something very encouraging that even with the distance, even with the restrictions, even with the limitation to the physical contact, the administrators' presence are still being felt by the students. So it reveals support. And the delivery of instruction is not really highly affected negatively. However, it's noted also that the two lowest in the rating are on the library and on the virtual faculty. So we really need to look into this, especially on the virtual faculty. This focuses on the faculty as a person, not really much on his or her way of teaching. So those are points for reflection. And finally, on the SEL teaching, every indicator is implemented well. However, there is still one level to be achieved. There should be very well implemented. So we are not yet that on that level, highlighting that SEL is a very important component, especially on the time of pandemic. So there really is a need to fast track the training for teachers to include socio-emotional learning into their instruction so that we could develop resilient learners. For social interaction, it's implemented well, and also instructional interaction. But we tried to connect the delivery of e-services and SEL teaching. They are closely interrelated with each other. There is a positively strong relationship, meaning to say, if there would be improved delivery of e-services, there is also a tendency of an improved delivery of SEL teaching among the faculty. So it highlights that the institution really needs to improve on its services across the areas so that it would lead towards resilient teachers and therefore and hopefully having resilient learners also. So what are the takeaways here? These are really the recommendations and then the conclusions that we could get from this talk. More classroom activities for students to interact with students from other groups. It may be very difficult, especially during this pandemic, but it is essential, especially if we would want to provide quality education regardless of the culture of our students, and highlighting, integrating the issue of stereotyping, integrating it across the curriculum. Next, focus towards mastery of content and use of research-based knowledge in their instruction. In the Philippines, it's really a big problem. Research is a big problem in the higher educational setting. Only a few teachers are engaged in research, but it is part of our competency standards in the nation to have skills with regards to research, and it's even highlighted as a competency in the Southeast Asian Teacher Competency Framework. And yet, we still lag behind on this area. Another, if we want to have resilient learners, then we need to provide responsive and relevant educational services, even with the direction towards excellence, we could also go towards providing resilience. And finally, we need to infuse socio-emotional learning into the different e-services that the schools are providing, especially in these times. By this, we could have relevant and responsive education in this present day and age. With that, thank you very much. If you would want to get some more details on this and references, it would be an honor for me to provide you with. Just try to contact me with these details. So once again, thank you.
Han from the Republic of Philippines. Thank you for your both inspirative and analytical presentation. And please, Prof. Amihan, stay tuned because at the end of the presentation, there will be some questions from the audience for you. Okay, and then next, the third presenter is from Universitas Slamet Riyadi Surakarta, Indonesia, Ibu Dr. Sri Handayani M. Hum from English Education Department of Universitas Slamet Riyadi Surakarta. But before her presentation, I would like to give you a little about her curriculum vitae. Okay, Ibu Dr. Sri Handayani SPD M. Hum is receiving the doctoral degree of English Education Universitas 11 Maret Surakarta, and she is also a lecturer at the English Education Department Universitas Slamet Riyadi Surakarta. And in this very good opportunity, she is going to present pillars of education and the 21st century skills. Please, Ibu Dr. Sri Handayani M. Hum, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Ibu Handa.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Can you hear me?
Very clearly.
Not really?
Very clearly, Ibu.
Very clearly. Okay.
Very really.
Okay, thank you for the times. Okay, thank you, moderators. Good afternoon, dear all participants.
And
okay.
Good afternoon.
Okay, it is great honor for me to be here in the third Ictess held by Universitas Slamet Riyadi Surakarta. And in this session, it is my turn to talk about education in the global security and global cooperation. Okay. Okay, before I share my idea, I want to greet you all by very simple questions. What do you think about education? I believe that each of you has your own ideas about education, but in these times, I want to remind you to a very great quote from a big man, the late former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. He said that education is the most powerful weapons that you can use to change the world. You believe it? Sure, you have to believe it. And moreover, Barney Trilling said that education becomes the key to economic survival in the 21st century. Actually, education is the process by which people acquire the knowledge, skill, habit, value, or attitude. And by doing this, education change from uneducated people become educated peoples, and the educated people can be a strong human resource to maintain the global security. Okay, actually, these times I want to share to you an effort that I can do in participating of the global security and also cooperation through the education by talking an idea about integrating 21st century skill in education. It is my reason in teaching English as foreign language, especially in my seminar class. Okay, let me start by this. Actually, now we are in the 21st century, and the previous era in the education focused on the contents of the learnings. At the time, the learners have to sit idly on their desks, listen to the teacher carefully, write down the lesson, and finally, they have to memorize all the subjects and to do the task well and get better score. But in 21st century, we have such kind of framework as you can see in these pyramids that we have to give the core of the subjects and also the 21st century themes. And besides that, we have to integrate, we have to plant the 21st century skill into our education. Actually, education, the 21st century skill is about how we give the skill which are needed by the learners to be success in their life. And we have to be able to make them confident to practice this skill. With wide variety of information in the 21st century, the education must be able to foster the learners to think critically and creatively and to collaboratively also communicate clearly. Okay, actually, education in the 21st century is a little bit measured than before. A desire to learn continuously through lifetime is a mark of 21st century learners. It is highlighted about learn how to learn, or we call it as holistic approach, an approach that focus that teaching learning process is not what only happen in the classroom, but this is refers to as lifelong learning, the philosophy that involves the development of knowledge, skill, attitude, and value through one's life from earlyhood until adulthood. Okay, talk about education in the 21st century, we have to focus on the two important aspects in education, namely the pillar of education and 21st century skill. Okay, as UNESCO sentence that there are four pillars in education, namely learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. Learning to know is about how can an education give the knowledge which is meaningful to the learners. It also called as learning how to learn. The learning must be meaningful for the learners and it can be gained by combining the opportunity to work in depth on small number of subjects. While learning to do is about how individuals participate in the global economy and also society. Education is to acquire not only occupational skill, but also the competence to deal with many situations and to work in teams. While learning to be is about to develop one personalities. Okay, as one of the characteristics of 21st century, actually, education is personalized education. We can have the same goal of teaching learning process, but how to achieve the goal can be different among the learners. It depends on the learner inner potential, or we call it as the multiple intelligence of the learners. And the last one is about learning to live together. It is about the social skill and values. It's about how individual can respect to the diversity and give the appreciation to interdependence. And in short, we can say that learning to know associate with the learner's knowledge, learning to do associate with learner's skill, learning to be associate with learner aptitude or talent, and learning to live together correlate with learner's understanding. And this four pillar will be strong pillar to be good education in the 21st century. Okay, now please go to 21st century skill. Okay, there are so many organizations to categorize the 21st century skill. And one of the popular one is from the Partnership 21st Skill. They divided the 21st century skill into three categories, namely learning and innovation, or the voices, digital literacy, and career in life. While applied educational system simply categorize the 21st century skill into three, namely the learning skill, or we call it as policy skill. They are critical thinking, creativity, communication, and not the same six because they also include connectivity and also culture understanding. And the second category is literacy skill, or we call it as IMT skill, or information, media, and access technology. And the last one is the life skill, or we call it as flip skill, flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skill. Okay, and in my research, I just focus on the voices 21st century skill. Okay, first is about the critical thinking. It is about how individual can grasp the wide variety of information and how individual can gather, analyze, and interpret the information to be meaningful for them, especially to solve the problems. And the creativity is about thinking outside of the box. How can an individual fuse from different ways with their previous knowledge? It is a venue of innovation and personal expression. While while the communication is about how individual can present and grab the information and communicate effectively and clearly. The communication must be clear and concise and be mutual communication. The communication must be beneficial both for the communicators and also the audience. And the last one is about the collaborators. It is about work in team, working and leading others to solve the problems. Okay, and in short, we can say that critical thinking is about finding solutions to problems. Creativity is about thinking outside of the box. Collaboration is about working with others, and communication is about talking to others effectively. Okay, now please take a look at a glance about teaching English as foreign language in 21st century. Okay, as we know previously, the teaching English as foreign language focused on the linguistic competence, how the learners master the language skill and also language elements, which is delivered by many approaches, methods, and techniques. As we know about audiolingual method, the method that focus on the trilling, we know grammar translation method, we know audiolingual method, and selling way, many others. And actually, in this 21st century travel, English cannot be treated as simple linguistic skill, but it must be regarded as a global language. What's global language? Global language that people can use to express their local identities and to communicate intelligibly with the world. And today's EFS classroom should no longer focus on the grammars, memorization, and learning from rote. And the teaching learning process in the travel should be designed to use the language and cultural knowledge as a means to connect the others around the world. Okay, and in the travel in 21st centuries, education must develop the activities in authentic tasks and problem-solving activities. We have to give the tasks that the student really need in the future life and future careers. For example, how to make the telephone calls, how to make the negotiation, how to fulfill the form, how to make report, and many other authentic tasks and also problem-solving activities. And this can be coped by giving the complex project work to the learners that involve negotiation, collaboration, goal settings, meaningful communication, and last, we can develop the challenging products. Okay, in my research methods, I use descriptive qualitative. I did in my seminar class that in the seminar class, the learners are invited to identify the current and past issues in English language research. They have to extensively read the journal in international journals so they can understand the trend issues in language research across countries. Okay, and this one in the integration of the voices skill in travel. It is executed by asking the student to carry out complex projects collaboratively in groups. They have to conduct the survey to assess classroom interest toward the type of results which are possible to get it down in the pandemic time, the language skill and other subject or results. And this one is the result of the students' survey about the type of the research which is possible for them to be conducted during the pandemic. Okay. And in the communication, after the survey finish, the learners use the information to create a graph to communicate the result and determine which type of result method are the favorite. As you can see in this graph, you can find which type of the result can be the favorite for them. They choose descriptive qualitative and descriptive quantitative. Well, correlational study, case study are not the favorites. Okay. And in the critical thinkings, the learners have to find why they get the different result with the other groups, and they have to report it both oral and written, and also they have to make the video, okay, like this. Tell about why her group got different result, okay. And she used TikTok application to make the video little bit interest. And about the creativities, the learners are invited to make a digital advertising campaign that will be very interesting for them, because they have to make the campaign that will make the type of the research that the student like least into the type of the research the student like more. And it is the example of the campaign made by my student had. Okay, in this group, it is found that most of them choose descriptive qualitative and none of them choose correlational research. And this group tried to convince their friend that correlational research can be very type of research for them by making the campaign like this. Okay. And this project really challenging for them of how to convince their friends. Okay. They also support the advertisement with the material, something like this. And finally, send it down to choose correlational results. And finally, she smile like this. Da-da. Okay, thank you. This also, sorry. This also my student work, and they have to make this campaign based on the survey. Okay. Okay, thank you. It's also another digital advertisement campaign made by my student. Okay, finally I come to my conclusion that actually integrating forces skill in English language teaching is important to be implemented, especially by giving the complex project to the learners. The learners can finish this project in greater autonomy, and to do this actually, we encourage our learners to be critical thinkers, a good collaborators, an effective communicator, and great creator. Okay, these are my references in finishing my research. Okay, and last but not least, I just want to say that actually we are now in the global era, and it is important for us to conduct the global education and mastering the global language. Through this, we can create generation is able and ready goes to the global security and global cooperation. And specifically, I just want to say that integrating forces skill in 21st century in learning is a great thing to do by the educators, since we can accompany our learners to be a critical thinkers, a good collaborators, and effective communicators, and a great creators to be an outstanding agent of change in 21st century. Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for inviting me, and have a great day for all.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Sri Handayani, for your very inspirative and analytical presentation, and
Okay.
also for your very nice pictures and videos. And please, Ibu Handayani, you still have to stay tuned because there will be some questions for you and the other
Okay.
presenters. Okay,
Okay.
for the first opportunity, we will invite some question from
Yeah.
for Prof. Chin Lin. Okay, Ibu Siti Supeni.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Dion for times. Thank you very much to presenter. Now, I want to know about from Dr. Sorry, Cielilio. Yeah, talking about the CIBEL relevant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Accessible, relevant, sustainable education. And then to Mr. Han, Mrs. Handa, Miss Han, in education, 21st century skills, there are communication, creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking. Now, I want to know how to teach moral values, norms, and attitude during online learning. Because now we are always teaching in daring. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, a minute, Ibu Siti Supeni. This question is for Prof. Amihan or Ibu Handayani?
Yeah, oh,
okay.
I want to know
Ibu
about
understand. Okay,
how
the
to teach
first
moral values
answer,
because different
please,
country. I'm
Prof.
so sorry.
Amihan. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, please, Prof. Amihan. Your response to Ibu Siti Supeni's question?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I did not really quite get it. It's with regards to sustainable education. I think the question is how to ensure that we would have sustainable education. Would that be the question?
Yeah.
Ibu Penny, can you
okay.
Your question?
Thank you, Mr. How to teach moral values, norms, and attitude during online learning? Because we are never apa langsung itu apa?
Meet them.
Sorry, Miss Jan. Direct. Because we are never direct personality in students in a class. Now we are teaching daring system. How about your country? About to teach values, norms in daring. Okay, thank you.
Prof.
Okay.
Amihan, did
Yes.
you get the question about
Yes.
how to teach norms and values to our student during this pandemic era?
Yeah,
Because we
thank you.
cannot meet them face by face.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. It's worth noting really that when you would want to teach them about those things, it's not really much of teaching, but it should be observed in the teacher and it should be caught by the teachers because these are attitudes, these are actuations. However, given our current situation right now, the students and the teachers are physically distant from each other, but still the virtual presence may do for now with regards to the teacher should be able to be a model to his or her students regardless of where the teacher is conducting the classes. It may not be in the physical classroom and everything would be monitored by the supervisors with regards to the dress code, with regards to the language, and with regards to the attitude that the teachers are doing, but still the supervisor should be able to monitor even if we are now on the virtual. In the Philippines, almost all institutions, especially in higher learning, are on the virtual mode, online distance education, and it's really a struggle for us, me as a supervisor, as a manager, to really monitor and supervise my faculty, particularly focusing on their behavior. It's because now, unlike before, the behaviors are only confined within the classroom. And if there would be unwanted behaviors being shown by the teacher, then it would be the students who would observe, who would witness, and perhaps who would catch and imitate those behaviors. However, now they are more exposed. When we have our virtual education, it's not just the students who are observing, but including the parents and even the other members in the household. They may observe and they may catch. I'm always highlighting this. It's because attitudes and behaviors are really more of caught rather than taught. Although we need to integrate, aside from preserving the integrity of the teaching profession, and that's by upholding the ethical principles as stated in the professional code of ethics for teachers. We have that in the Philippines, and I understand all the other countries have their own norms for behaviors for students. But apart from that, teachers, you should highlight now, teachers should be able to integrate in their lessons the contents so that they could promote moral values and the good attitudes. First, it should be shown, we should walk the talk. It should be shown by the teachers. The teachers should be in sync and in adhering the moral principles and the values that he or she is trying to teach to the students. At the same time, we could integrate, we could infuse moral values and principles, those kinds of lessons within our normal content in our lessons. So it's not just a matter of pedagogical expertise, but it's also a matter of we as teachers trying to adhere to the overall competencies expected of teachers, and that just not does not just limit us to instructional competence, but even on our professional and personal lives. And by that, we hope that we could continue to inspire. It's really because students would look up to us, and things that we say, more importantly, things that we do would really be caught and would really be interpreted by them as the correct ways of doing things, correct behaviors. So it's really very, very important to police ourselves as teachers and as as managers, as supervisors. We need to continuously monitor, integrate socio-emotional learning, um, having them self-awareness and other things, and hopefully it would ripple, it would also develop SEL among the students, and by that really we would have a sustainable education. It's because those are things that are constant regardless of what would happen, regardless of another round of pandemic that would occur, hopefully none. But if those things would happen, then at least we would be more assured that we have proofed, we have future proofed our teachers and our students well.
Thank you, Prof. Amihan, for your very both inspirative and challenging ideas. Okay, Bu Penny, that is the answer from Prof. Amihan and
thank you.
Ibu Handa. Please, Ibu Handa, your response to Ibu Penny's question. Ibu Handa,
yeah.
Prof. Sri Handayani, please.
Okay, thank you for the questions, Ibu Penny. What a great question is it? You asked me about how to maintain the values, the norm, and also the characters of the learners during the online learning. Actually, I do not talk about online learning, but it's okay. I also conduct online learning. Okay, Bu Penny, that it is really challenges for us. It is online learning to foster the learners' characters. Actually, it's not what we call it really difficult for us, because in online learning we also have to educate the learners to have good characters. In my field, I teach language, especially English. And with the language, actually, we can foster our learners' character, or how to communicate politely with others, with your friend, with your lecturers, how to communicate both written and oral, and also how to work collaboratively with your friend, it is also moral. And actually, the online learning is learning that must be faced by the learners. So, and also the educators. We have to be ready for that. Something like that. We have to be ready that we can't ignore our characters. As I told to you that the strong pillar about the knowledge, about the skill, about the aptitude, about the social value, it also strong pillar in online learning. So we can't ignore the student characters in the online learning. We can foster in the online learning. It's all about the readiness, both for the educator and also the learners. It is my sort of answer.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you,
much,
Miss Anne.
Ibu Triandayani, Prof. Triandayani.
Bim-
You are the expert in
Okay.
teaching norms and values. Okay, Bu Anda, please,
Okay,
please.
because the goal of teacher
Yes.
making to behavior change.
Yes.
Thank you. The good behavior.
Thank you for your very inspirative question. And Ibu Handa, please stay tuned because there is still some one question for you. And but the next, please, this question is for Prof. Lin. Prof. Lin, and then I think, okay, the questioner is Ferdian Ahya from Universitas Gajah Mada. Mr. Ferdian Ahya, are you still there?
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Ferdian Ahya.
Hello.
Yes, please, your question. Prof. Lin, this is the
Hi.
question for you.
Yeah, thank you for the time given. Firstly, let me.
Would you please a little bit louder?
Oh yeah. Thank you. I am Ferdi from Gajah Mada University.
Yeah, okay.
Student. Now currently I'm pursuing my master program. And firstly, thank you, Miss Jinlin, for the interesting presentations. So anyway, you already mentioned that in the beginning of your presentation that the condition in Taiwan is getting normal since there's no domestic transmission anymore. And you also already explained about the sending your students to have internship abroad. But my question is, what if otherwise? Is it possible for overseas students to have an internship or short course or some kinds of program in universities in Taiwan during this pandemic? Have the universities in Taiwan, especially your university, organize or receive the short course program for overseas students in this pandemic period? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ferdian Ahya, for your very inspirative question. Prof. Lin.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. I'm very glad that you asked this question. Actually, in Taiwan now, if you are going to enter Taiwan, then you got to have a proof from the doctor says that you are healthy. That's the test says that you are healthy, and within 3 days of boarding. So it's quite hard to get into Taiwan these days. And once you get into Taiwan, there's a quarantine for 14 days. You got to stay at one place for 14 days. And after that, it's possible to have a chance to have internship in Taiwan. Okay?
Okay.
Mm.
That's all.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Okay. 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 Thank you very much, Prof. Lin. And then the next question is for Prof. Amihan. Ibu Evi, Ibu Kristiana Evi, please your question. Ibu Evi, are you
Okay. Yes, okay, Pak Dion, thank you so much for the times. Okay, I would like to talk to ask to Miss Dr. Shelilo. It's about what you
Can you
what
turn
you have.
on your video, Ibu Evi?
Excuse me.
Your camera, your video. Can you turn on?
I'm so sorry. There is something wrong with my video. I'm so sorry for that.
Okay, it's
am
okay.
Am I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, please. I would like to ask to Dr. Shelilo, according to based on the presentation that he has talked about, it's about multicultural education. So multiculturalism, as I know, is as old as human civilization itself. So human civilization around the world is still developing dynamically. Then starting from that, uh, my question is about whether global cultural will be homogeneous or heterogeneous, and which one is better, and how multicultural education anticipates this. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you, Ibu Evi. Okay, Prof. Amihan, did you get the question?
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, it's a very lengthy discussion. Until now, the discussion is still continuously evolving, but there would be different perspectives regarding culture. One is that the model before was in the US. It served as a melting pot wherein people of different cultures would be coming to the US because of the acceptance of the different culture. However, it's being perceived as a melting pot. It's because there is somehow a need to come up with a homogeneous culture so that people could coexist. That was a perspective before regarding cultural diversity and multiculturalism. However, now it's now being acknowledged that even if we would not lose our own cultural identities, we could still thrive and live together with other people. It's part actually of the pillars of learning in education for us to have students who would learn not just to know, as stated by one speaker earlier, not just learning to know, not just learning to do, but learning to live together in perfect harmony with other people. And by that, it does not necessarily mean that we need to have a common culture and we need to surrender our own culture so that we could live together with other people. It just recognizes that we now have cultural pluralism, that we could still retain our own cultural identity. However, we are tolerant and we could actually relate well with people of different cultures. There's no forcing that they need to change their beliefs, they need to change their way of doing things just to satisfy a dominant culture. And we need to have that kind of agreement so that we could really pursue with our goal on the ASEAN economic community and even on the larger global scale, that it's still possible that even if we don't really have a homogeneous culture, in a sense that we would be losing our own cultural identities, we could still retain them, and yet we could still live well with other people. So I think it's a matter of recognizing and a matter of respecting the culture of other people. That's the reason why for schools, we need to promote multicultural education by trying to provide equal opportunities. The school should be the one to adapt, not the other way around, to the diverse cultures of our students. Although, regardless of culture, there would still be things that would retain across different regions and across different cultures. And those are what we call cultural universals. Regardless of what culture you have, regardless of your religion, there is a common agreement, and there should be a common agreement that everyone should respect life, everyone should respect the culture of other people. So somehow the element of a common thing that's homogeneous, the element of homogeneity, I think that would be the term, should still be present by acknowledging universal principles. However, it does not necessarily mean that one culture is dominant over the other. It's because all the different cultures would have an agreed central theme, and those are the cultural universals.
Okay, that's all, Prof. Amihan. Thank you
Yes.
very much. I do agree with you, Prof. Amian, that the wood is now going more multicultural than before, and that's very good for us. Okay, thank you for your very inspirative answer. And there is still one question for Ibu Sri Handayani, Prof. Sri Handayani. The question is from Bapak Suyahman. Mr. Suyahman, from Universitas Veteran. Bapak Suyahman, are you still there? Mr. Suyahman, are you still there? Or Ibu Handa? Ibu Handa?
Yes.
Ibu Handayani? Okay, I think you can read the question in the chat room.
Okay.
Can you read Suyahman's question in the chat room?
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay, I see it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Nyahman, thank you for the questions. You asked me about how to actualize the global security and global cooperation in world peace. You say that. Okay, in my view that especially in English language, to maintain the global cooperation, first we have to master the global language. And we have to be able to communicate effectively, clear and concise. And as I told to you before, that we have to be able to conduct the communication, the meaningful communication, communications which beneficial both for the communicator and the audience. So we can make the deal, okay, for the cooperation. And beside that, we have to know the cultural understanding. Okay, without cultural understanding, it is impossible for us to make the cooperation among countries. So the key point in dealing with my presentation, if we want to contribute or participate in the global security and also cooperation, especially in English language teaching, we have to first master the global language and we have to have a cultural understanding. These two important points to create better cooperation. Okay, that's my answers, Mr. Dion.
Yeah, thank you, Wanda. I do agree with you. It is about cross-cultural understanding, and that is why we have cross-cultural festival annually. That
okay, that's
is
good
one of
idea.
the goal is how to understand different culture, how to be multicultural. Thank you very much for the three presenters, Prof. Lin, Prof. Amian, and Prof. Ziandayan, for your
Thank you.
inspirative, analytical, and amazing ideas and presentation. And for all the participants, thank you for joining us. But before, I would like to read my conclusion from the three presentation. Okay, this is the conclusion. Okay, so the first is that the internship experience so valuable. Students had a positive attitude towards the internship experience and value the experience very much. Whether it was about learning interpersonal communication skills or professional knowledge, the internship had a great impact on the student learning. And then the second is from Prof. Amihan. The takeaway is more classroom activities for students to interact with students from other groups, include the issue of stereotyping, focus towards mastery of contents, and use of research-based knowledge in their instruction. And then the last one is that integrating the four skill in English language teaching in seminar class was successfully conducted by giving complex project work involving critical thinking, collaboration, goal setting, meaningful communication, and the development of challenging product. Critical thinking was fully exposed by comparing the differences the survey result both in group and all class round. The result of surveys both written and orally. And finally, in the exploring students' creativity, the researcher inviting students to inform of digital advertisement campaign. Thank you very much for these very inspirative ideas. Thank you for joining us. And this is the end of session 2. And please, Angie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dion, for chairing the panel, the second panel. And we also grateful for the wonderful question and participation. And next, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a short break for 30 minutes. But please keep your Zoom online and do not leave the meeting. During the break, the committee will assign you to your respective chamber. And we will begin our chamber presentation on 12:30 p.m. Western Indonesia time. So please do not leave the meeting and keep your Zoom online. I tell you again, do not leave the meeting and the committee will assign you to your respective chamber.
Solo, which is history going back to 15th century, is known as the center of Japanese culture among Java Island. Rich with historical sites and the epicentrum of social changes, Solo has been part of Indonesian national transformation. A blend of history, culture, and nature, Solo is not only the grace of the past, but also the spotlight of the future of Indonesia. Solo is the home of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, the oldest private universities in the town with its decades of experiences both in education and culture and inspired by the devotion of a national hero, Slamet Riyadi. The university has a long history in contributing to the region and nation.
Unisri as private university has a vision of becoming superior and quality university in Southeast Asia. In its work based on Pancasila and the values of Slamet Riyadi struggle.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been implementing effective teaching methods supported with multimedia, laboratories, libraries, as well as reliable human resources to produce graduates who are both competent and professional in their field. Universitas Slamet Riyadi promotes professional research activities to contribute to the development of science and technology, which is useful both for environment and humanity. The university is also committed to provide students with facilities to empower them in facing the very competitive global workplace. A complete variety of academic references are provided in order to complete them with the most up-to-date resources. In order to contribute to the region and nation, Universitas Slamet Riyadi provides 6 faculties and postgraduate programs. Faculty of Law with the Science of Law, Faculty of Economy with Management and Accounting, Faculty of Political and Social Science with Public Administration, Communication, and International Relations. Faculty of Education with Pancasila and Civic Education, Counseling Education, English Language Education, Early Childhood Education, Elementary Teacher Education, and Informatics Education. Faculty of Agriculture with Agrotechnology. Faculty of Food Technology and Industry with Technology of Agricultural Product. Postgraduate program with Magister of Science of Law, Magister of Management, and Magister of Public Administration. In our campus, students are loaded with not only hard skills, but also soft skill and leadership, which are giving them the opportunity to improve their own intellectual and personal capacity. Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been collaborating with universities in Thailand, Malaysia, the Philippines, Japan, the Embassy of Netherlands to encourage development in the area of teaching, research, and publication. At Universitas Slamet Riyadi, we believe that the real achievement is giving to the devotion of the societies.
I am proud to be one of the alumni. The university prepared me with knowledge and skill to contribute to my career.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi has been providing the region and the nation with its qualified alumni.
Universitas Slamet Riyadi provides students with various choices of extracurricular activities, which are giving them opportunities to develop talents and passion, to build relationships, improve leadership and organization skills. Universitas Slamet Riyadi is a place where individuals are prepared for achieving skill and capacities, improving leadership, and creating global opportunities. A place where knowledge, science, and technology are devoted for nation and humanity.
Kota Surakarta, juga disebut Kota Solo atau Salak, adalah sebuah kota yang terletak di Provinsi Jawa Tengah dengan jumlah penduduk 503.421 jiwa dan kepadatan penduduk 13.636 per kilometer persegi dengan luas wilayah 4.404 hektar. Tumbuh menjadi kota metropolitan. Dilihat dari aspek lalu lintas perhubungan di Pulau Jawa, posisi Kota Solo berada pada jalur strategis, yaitu pertemuan atau simpul yang menghubungkan Semarang dengan Yogyakarta, serta jalur Surabaya dengan Yogyakarta. Dengan posisi yang strategis ini, maka tidak heran Kota Surakarta menjadi pusat bisnis yang penting bagi daerah kabupaten di sekitarnya. Kota Solo memiliki semboyan berseri, yang berarti bersih, sehat, rapi, dan indah, sebagai slogan pemeliharaan keindahan kota. Sementara slogan yang sangat terasa adalah Solo, the Spirit of Java, yang artinya jiwanya Pulau Jawa sebagai upaya pencitraan Kota Solo sebagai pusat kebudayaan Jawa. Awalnya, Solo tidak lebih dari sebuah desa terpencil yang tenang, 10 km di sebelah timur Kartasura di wilayah Sukoharjo. Di wilayah ini dulu merupakan ibu kota kerajaan Mataram. Paku Buwono II yang menjadi Raja Mataram mendukung Cina melawan Belanda. Kemudian Paku Buwono II mencari tempat yang lebih menguntungkan untuk membangun kembali kerajaannya. Dan pada tahun 1745, kerajaan dibongkar dan diarak menuju daerah Sala saat itu, terletak di tepi sungai Bengawan Solo. Dan tanggal 18 Februari 1745 inilah dianggap sebagai hari kelahiran kota Surakarta atau Solo. Solo merupakan kota penuh nuansa sejarah dan budaya, memiliki tradisi Jawa yang dibanggakan masyarakatnya. Sebuah tempat yang akan membuat Anda terkesima dengan beragam atraksi warisan budaya Jawa kuno. Paling tidak beberapa hari harus Anda sisihkan untuk dapat menikmati semua sajian wisata yang mengagumkan. Dari menjelajahi kota sambil melihat keraton, mengunjungi pasar tradisional, berbelanja batik dan kerajinan yang berkualitas, serta melihat atraksi tarian Solo yang penuh keagungan, wayang kulit, kuliner yang lezat, dan tentunya berkomunikasi langsung dengan masyarakatnya yang ramah. Masyarakat Solo pandai memelihara budaya lokalnya. Oleh karena itu, tidaklah mengherankan bila bahasa Jawa dari Solo digunakan sebagai standar bahasa Jawa nasional. Tarian daerah Bedoyo dan Srimpi masih dilestarikan di Keraton Solo. Batik terkenal yang berasal dari Solo yaitu batik keris dan batik Danarhadi. Penduduk Solo memang bangga dengan batiknya. Bahkan kota ini juga dikenal dengan julukan The City of Batik atau Kotanya Batik. Solo dikenal sebagai kota yang tidak pernah tidur. Selalu ada sesuatu yang menarik dapat Anda temukan di sini. Solo telah dikenal sebagai daerah tujuan wisata yang biasa didatangi oleh wisatawan dari kota-kota besar. Selain menyuguhkan pemandangan kota dan keraton Kasunanan, Solo juga menawarkan wisata-wisata alam di sekitarnya. Antara lain, Tawangmangu di timur kota Solo, dan kawasan wisata Selo di barat kota Solo. Di kota Solo, Anda dapat mengunjungi dua keraton Jawa, yaitu Kasunanan Surakarta dan Pura Mangkunegaran. Berkelilinglah di kota tua ini dengan naik kereta kuda andong atau becak, sambil melihat bangunan tua dan labirin di sepanjang dinding istana yang bercat putih. Beragam kegiatan budaya bisa Anda temukan di kota ini. Solo Batik Carnival, sebuah ajang perhelatan akbar tahunan yang menyuguhkan kreasi batik modern dipadu dengan tradisional. Dikreasi dengan berbagai cara dan bentuk, dikirap atau karnaval sepanjang jalan utama Slamet Riyadi, dan dilihat ribuan warga yang tumplek-blek di sepanjang 4 km jalan ini. Ritual sekaten atau grebek maulud, sebuah tradisi memperingati maulid Nabi Muhammad SAW dalam kalender Jawa. Grebek maulud ditandai dengan keluarnya persembahan Raja Keraton Solo, yaitu berupa 2 buah gunungan yang terbuat dari beras ketan, makanan dan buah-buahan serta sayur-sayuran sebagai wujud syukur. Dibawa oleh prajurit keraton dan abdi dalam dari Kori Kamandungan Keraton Solo menuju Masjid Agung. Seusai didoakan, gunungan ini nantinya akan diperebutkan masyarakat. Festival Payung Indonesia, sebuah acara budaya yang pertama kalinya digelar di Kota Solo, melibatkan perajin payung atau seniman daerah yang menjadi sentra perajin payung, seperti Klaten, Tasikmalaya, Bali, Padang, Yogyakarta, dan Makassar. Daerah-daerah tersebut punya sejarah pembuatan payung di wilayah Indonesia. Festival Jenang adalah event tahunan khusus digelar di Kota Solo dalam rangka memeriahkan Hari Jadi Kota, dipusatkan di koridor Ngarsopuro. Jenang sebagai kuliner tradisional sudah mulai dilupakan masyarakat. Untuk itu, puluhan jenis bubur dan jenang ditampilkan dan dibagikan kepada warga Solo. Keroncong Festival tak lupa sebagai bagian budaya Kota Solo. Dikenal dengan maestro keroncong seperti almarhum Gesang dan juga Waljina. Untuk mengembangkan kesenian asli Indonesia agar tidak kalah dengan budaya asing, maka digelarlah festival ini di halaman Benteng Vastenburg, menghadirkan puluhan kelompok keroncong dari berbagai daerah di Indonesia dan juga mancanegara. Vastenburg Carnival adalah karnaval yang menggunakan ruang arsitektur bangunan peninggalan Belanda, yaitu Benteng Vastenburg, sebagai arena performing karnaval. Menjadi simbol pertahanan budaya lokal sekaligus mengenalkan peninggalan sejarah di Kota Solo. Karnaval digelar dengan arak-arakan dari Tugu 0 km, Pemandengan, kemudian menyusuri Jalan Jenderal Sudirman, dan masuk ke kawasan Benteng Vastenburg. Solo 24 Jam Menari, sebuah event untuk memperingati Hari Menari Sedunia. Pemerintah Kota Solo bekerja sama dengan Institut Seni Indonesia atau ISI Surakarta dan World Dance Day Community menggelar acara menari selama 24 jam non-stop. Solo 24 Jam Menari ini dimaksudkan untuk menggali, mengembangkan, sekaligus melestarikan kebudayaan tari di Kota Solo yang diikuti ribuan seniman nasional juga internasional. Dan yang paling ditunggu-tunggu adalah Bengawan Solo GT Festival. Sebagai sebuah kota yang dulunya mengandalkan sungai besar atau bengawan sebagai transportasi air, merupakan festival naik getek atau rakit yang dihiasi beraneka tampilan seni menyusuri sungai Bengawan Solo. Festival ini diadakan di sepanjang sungai Bengawan Solo dengan start di Ngepung sampai di Taman Satwa Juru. Getek merupakan alat transportasi air yang terbuat dari batang bambu yang dirakit sedemikian rupa sehingga bisa dinaiki di atasnya dan menggunakan batang bambu atau dayung untuk melaju. Zaman dulu, sekitar abad 17 sampai 19 Masehi, lalu lintas di Bengawan Solo sebagai sungai terpanjang di Jawa diramaikan dengan getek dan perahu sebagai alat transportasi. Pedagang dan penduduk pada umumnya melakukan mobilitas dengan memanfaatkan transportasi air di Bengawan Solo. Dan masih banyak beragam kegiatan budaya yang menarik untuk disaksikan. Memasuki usia yang ke-270 tahun, Kota Solo berbenah menjadi sebuah kota yang modern. Namun, sebagai pewaris kebesaran Kerajaan Mataram, Kota Solo tidak bisa meninggalkan begitu saja kebesaran kerajaan ini. Sehingga peninggalan seni, budaya, bangunan, dan juga kuliner masih tetap dilestarikan hingga kini. Selamat ulang tahun Kota Solo ke-200, berbudaya, ramah warganya, sopan bahasanya, dan modern berkembangnya. Dan terbuka bagi siapapun untuk datang dan menikmati kemegahan kota sekaligus keramahan orangnya. Mari datang dan kunjungi Kota Solo. Jangan lupa rasakan kelezatan kuliner serta oleh-olehnya untuk orang tercinta di rumah. Dan jika Anda terkesan dengan keramahan warga serta kulinernya, ajaklah saudara, kerabat, serta teman Anda untuk kembali datang ke Kota Solo.
Solo, with its history going back to 15th century, is known as the center of Japanese culture among Java Island. Rich with historical sites and the epicentrum of social changes, Solo has been part of Indonesian national transformation. A blend of history, culture, and nature, Solo is not only the grace of the past, but also the spotlight of the future of Indonesia. Solo is the home of Universitas Slamet Riyadi, the oldest private universities in the town with its decades of experiences both in education and culture and inspired by the devotion of a national hero, Slamet Riyadi. The university has a long history in contributing to the region and nation.
Unisri as private university has a vision of becoming superior and quality university in Southeast Asia. In its work based on Pancasila,